and you can clearly see here that it's copying to the external SSD M.2 drive that I have named as such. I'm going to do a paste. Oh wow, okay. That's pretty darn impressive. That's a 6 gigabytes, guys. That's 6 gigabytes in, what was it? 5 seconds? I gotta see this again. Okay. Hello, my friends. My name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. Today we are reviewing an awesome brand aluminum M.2 NVMe SSD enclosure that comes with a USB Type A and USB Type C cable as well. So this is one of those enclosures that are compatible with NVMe drives that are M.2 SSD, specifically M key. And for that, we're going to be using, for the testing part of it, we're going to be using a Samsung 970 EVO Plus, which is pretty much the best one you can buy. And of course, this company shows to be testing it with this in order to make sure you get the fastest speeds possible. There are links in the description if you're interested in any of this. And just to throw this out there real quick, I did get this item from this company. They sent it to me to review. However, it's not a sponsored video or anything like that, so this is going to be completely unbiased. I'm going to be unboxing and I'm going to be testing the speeds to see what kind of speeds we can get with this aluminum external enclosure. So just to mention real quick again, this is NVMe M.2 SSD M key hard disks. For all the compatible sizes, I will list them right here so to make sure that you get the right ones if you do decide to give this a shot. Anyways, this supports USB 3.1 generation 2 Type C to M.2 SSD. So that means that you can use this on a USB up to USB 3.1, which should give you 10 gigabits per second ultra high speed transmission. Of course, this is also supposed to be compatible with Windows, Linux, and Mac operating systems. So if you happen to have a Mac, you can also use this. So why would you want to use this? So if you're somebody who does video editing or deals with a lot of large files and you want a portable, fast way to have a storage available to you, this would be a good option for you to potentially use. Again, we're going to test the speeds to make sure that this is legitimate and that it's really good and worth your money, because otherwise I wouldn't want you to spend any money on this in case it's not good. But we're going to see. All right, let's get to the unboxing. I'm just going to slide this out like so. I'm going to open it up like this, and then I'm going to see what's inside. Here are the screws and a little spacer there for our adapter. Here's a little screwdriver that comes with it, so that's pretty neat. Here's the first cable that we see here. It's a regular cable to USB Type C, which I'm assuming the enclosure is connected to the Type C, and then you just connect it to a regular USB. Of course, it is backwards compatible, and here's a USB Type C to Type C as well. And then we have the enclosure itself in here. Here's the aluminum enclosure. It seems to be a pretty nice design. There's a little weight to it, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. It means it's a solid construction. Here's the connector for our USB Type C, and it connects like that. And again, we're going to be testing with this on the USB 3.1, which I do have on my computer. I will show that to you right now, where we're going to connect that as well to make sure we get the most speed we can get out of it. All right, on the other side, we do have a couple of screws that we're going to unscrew in order to open this up. Okay, and of course comes with a little manual and shows you how to do all of this. All right, let's move on. So again, this is a brand new a Samsung drive that I'm going to open up here, and then we're going to use that as the test feature of it. I'm going to unpack it real quick. All right, quick unboxing of the M.2 970 EVO, link in description if you're interested. And here is our super fast NVMe drive, which we're going to install in here. Okay, now we're ready to install. So we're going to use a provided screwdriver to unscrew this real quick. That's one. That's two. After removing that, this becomes something that you can open up like that. Now we can slide it out. It just falls out like that very nicely. Now, whenever you do this, make sure the orientation stays the same whenever you push it in. I'm going to flip it over because it's on the other side, but I'm going to have to make sure that I do put it back in the way it came out. Okay, so on the other side are the actual connectors. Now, depending on which drive you get, I'm going to be you're going to be using a different type of spacer. So this is why it came with extra screw and the spacer. However, I'm using the longest one, which is the 80 millimeter, and I'm just going to insert it like so. It's very simple, just like you would do it on any M.2. You can see that you just have to make sure you align the notch, that with the notch that is there. It's very simple. You put it in on an angle like this. So just be careful whenever you do this. Make sure it's on an angle like this. Don't try to push it flat or anything like that. Make sure it's on an angle like this. Push it in, and then we're going to lower it and then screw it down. Now for that, I'm going to need one of these screws. Alright, again, make sure it's all the way down like that so you don't see the connectors. And then we're going to lower it down like so. I'm going to take my screwdriver and make sure you get the silver one that's in the package. It does help that this little handy screwdriver is magnetic. And then we're going to insert it like that. Sorry about that, I do have shaky hands. Okay. It's kind of awkward for me to show you the right angle and film it at the same time. Okay, so gently screw it on there with the provided screwdriver. You don't need to go crazy on it. Anyways, there it is. It's fully installed, and we're going to insert it back in. Remember, we're going to slide it back in this way. That's how it came out. Make sure that the USB part of it is on the other side. Make sure that everything's aligned properly, and it should just fall in like that. That's what it seems like, alright? And then we're going to put our little lid back on, and the screws, little black screw that came with it. Tell you what, it does help that this screwdriver is magnetic. Just tightening down the remainder of these two screws. And now, with our USB cable, we're going to plug it in like so. And it's supposed to be, according to the box on there, it's supposed to be plug and play, no need to install any drivers for this. You see, it's a USB 3.1, and we're going to plug this thing into it right now. Here we go. So here we are inside the computer, and let's see what happened. Now, it goes without saying, if you have a USB 3. Or 3.1, make sure you do get the correct drivers, just in case you're not getting the correct speeds or whatnot. Here it is, our PC open up, and I can see right away that the drive doesn't show up or anything like that. But this could be related to the fact that maybe the drive itself needs to be formatted or allocated in space. So let's have a look at that real quick. So what we're going to do, we're going to right click our computer, we're going to go to manage, and from there we're going to go to disk management here, and let's just see here what happens. And it looks like it found it, and it's asking me, hey, do you want to initialize it? And here, of course, it asks you if you want to use two different type of partitions. Now, if you're trying to boot from this drive, you might want to select MBR, which is master boot record type of partition. I'm just going to leave it at GPT. So yes, it is probably possible to boot to Windows operating system on this hard drive. So of course you have to make sure it's enabled like so if your computer supports booting from USB. So just keep that in mind. Some BIOS may not support this, but if your computer supports booting from USB, yes, you can potentially boot to this drive. So chances are this drive might be faster than your computer drive. So anyways, I'm just going to leave it at GPT, and I'm going to click OK. And now if we scroll down, we can see where our drive shows up. And it's supposed to be 500 gigabytes, but you guys know whenever it's formatted, it's actually way less. And you can see now that it's unallocated. Unallocated means that you have to tell it, okay, how much of this volume do you want to use for storage? So I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to click select new simple volume, and then I'm going to, this wizard comes up, and I'm just going to click next through it, because all it is just ask you, hey, you want to use all the space, and you can specify less if you wanted to have two different partitions. Anyways, I want to use the whole thing, so all you got to do is just keep clicking next, and you can change the drive letter if you want. I'm just going to leave it at E. It doesn't matter to me at this point, and I'm going to leave it at default as well. I'm going to leave the format at NTFS. I'm going to label it. I'm going to change the label, and I'm going to call it external SSD M.2 drive. Okay, I'm going to do a perform quick, and I'm just going to click next, and I'm going to click next, and now it's ready for us to, you see how it opened it up right away. And now if I go inside of my computer, you can see that it shows up right there and it's full. All right, now let's go ahead and do some testing, see how fast it is, and we're going to copy some stuff over, and I'm going to see some real world action. But first thing to do is do some crystal disk benchmarking. All right, let's see what happens. So here's our crystal disk mark. I'm going to run it. I'm going to use the 64-bit version because why not? I'm going to leave it at 5 counts, and I'm going to leave it at a test size of 8 gigabytes and then see what happens. I'm going to make sure over here that my new drive E is selected. You can see now that it's 0%, 466 gigabytes available, and I'm going to click test all. By the way, while we're testing, I do want to say that I do have a pretty decent computer. This is an i9 9900K computer, so there is no bottleneck at any point in this testing. This is purely testing at 3.1 USB speeds, and it's supposed to be reading at 10 gigabits per second and writing at those same speeds, which normally are rated around 800 megabytes per second read and write typically. However, so far we're getting really good results. 958 megabytes per second is an amazing speed. It's actually faster than I expected. Now we're going to see after the read speeds, we're going to see what the write speeds are. So in a moment, we're going to see that as well. All right, so the write speed is really impressive considering this is an external enclosure. So far, we have the read speed of 958 megabytes per second maximum and the write speed of almost 1 terabyte. So, or 1 gigabyte, I'm sorry. So 989 megabytes per second. These are some incredible speeds considering this is an external enclosure. So keep in mind, if you are somebody who needs to have an external fast storage, this is a really good option for you, especially if you're someone who does video editing or some kind of media type of thing where you could use external storage of this type. So let's say you do video editing like I do in 4K. Boy, I tell you, these speeds would be super helpful just to have extra storage on hand to store and edit from, because whenever you do video editing in 4K, and those sizes are just humongous, and you want those speeds in order to edit without any delay, so that way you can just drag and drop, seek through, do this and that. Of course, you can use this to store your video games, your just files, your media, anything like that, and these speeds are impressive. Again, I'm just showing you unbiased test of the crystal disk, and of course we're going to do here in a moment the actual real world speeds of what we can expect when copying and moving and loading certain files. All right, so this is the final result. If you want to pause and have a good look, again, these are the maximum speeds we get. So far, so good. All right, let's have a look at the real world comparison. All right, here's a speed test folder that I have created, and inside of it, I have a bunch of different videos, and they're all 4K, or it either doesn't matter. I'm going to show you how big this folder is. So it's a combination of different files, and it's a 6 gigabyte folder. Now, this is stored on my PC, so this is stored inside of my videos folder, and my main folder, that the video or I should say my main operating system, is on another M.2 as well. So the reason I did this, I'm going to copy from one M.2 to another in order to provide a fair comparison, meaning that if I'm copying from an M.2 to another M.2, it's going to give it the maximum possible speed of read and write. That way there's no bottleneck of any sort. See, that makes more sense, right? You don't want to create a bottleneck. I'm not going to copy from a magnetic drive like a Seagate or something really old, and that's not going to be fair. This way I'm copying from something that's equally as fast to something that's should be fast. So I'm going to have it here side by side. I'm going to open up our external drive folder here. Here it is. I'm going to do some adjustment here, and you can clearly see here that it's copying from videos on my PC. I'm going to copy, and you can clearly see here that it's copying to the external SSD M.2 drive that I have named as such. I'm going to do a paste, Oh wow, okay. That's that's pretty darn impressive. That's a 6 gigabytes, guys. That's 6 gigabytes in what was it? 5 seconds? I gotta see this again. Okay. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to do again. I'm gonna okay. I'm gonna shut up for a second here, and I'm going to see. That's 6 gigabytes. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So about 9 seconds copy of 6 gigabytes of data. I'm sorry. So 9 seconds of 6 gigabytes data. That's a read and write. That's that's pretty darn impressive. Okay, let's see here. Let's make a copy of itself onto itself. Okay, so this is going to make a copy of it. This is not cut and paste. It's not just going to move it from one folder to another. This is actually going to make a copy of itself onto itself. All right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So interestingly enough, to make a copy on itself is actually slower than copying from another M.2. So that's interesting. Still pretty good. 13 seconds of 6 gigabytes of copy. So there you have it, guys. This is the unboxing and review of this external aluminum enclosure for M.2 drives. So if you're wondering now, well, should I get one of these? Well, it depends. If you are one of those people who need external storage that's super fast, then yes, definitely go for it. You can potentially boot over the USB to the operating system as well. Of course, if your computer supports it, and that's one of those things you have to check with the manufacturer of your computer. I wouldn't know that because some of the computers may not support booting off USB. Some of the newer ones do. So, and yes, of course, if you are doing video editing and you want external storage that's really fast, here are the speeds and they speak for themselves. I would definitely recommend it for somebody who does media editing and this and that on the go. This is definitely a great upgrade for somebody who does media editing, video editing, I should say. And there are links in the description for anything that you might be interested in here, including the drive that I used to test with. So in the link description below, there is the aluminum case and there is the Samsung link as well. Now, I do have to say, when it comes to copying over a folder that has a combination of files and folders that are of different drives or different sizes and this and that, well, the speed is not going to be the same. When I showed you this copy paste folder thing, if you were to do it with a folder that has a bunch of different things, like for example a video game, and that folder you copy over to this new drive, it's going to take quite a bit longer to do so. What I'm doing here is showing you how fast you can copy large files in order to test the full speed, full potential speed of it, read and write. Otherwise, here's what happens. If I copy over a folder that, for example, a game folder or a program folder, it's similar to driving a car. So when you're on a highway, when you get on a highway or Autobahn, as Germans would say, or a freeway, as some might say, once you start to accelerate, you get to the maximum speed that you can go, that's allowed on the highway, and then you maintain that speed for a long time. And that's exactly happens with these large files whenever you're copying them over. And that gives a huge boost in performance that is possible with these type of drivers, regardless to whether it's aluminum external enclosure or just directly onto your M.2 over PCI Express. However, if you have a folder with combination of large files and small files, it's like driving in the city. You have to stop and accelerate more frequently because there are small files. So if you have a bunch of small files, you has to stop, accelerate to the top speed, or may not even get that top speed, and then stop again, and then do it over and over again, which reduces the copy and paste speed by a lot. Anyways, this is just an example of how to get what the maximum speed is, to test the maximum speed of this external enclosure as a fair comparison. Otherwise, yes, you can put your video games on this, the loading times are going to be fast. I mean, this is what you would get. You would get read of this. So if you have a game that you're loading or this and that, these are the reads you will be getting for those. Of course, again, like I explained, my version of how this works, it will also depend on the game itself, how many large and how many small files there are. Either way, this is a huge upgrade for anybody who wants a faster drive, even if you have just a regular internal drive. Again, numbers heavily depend also on using the proper solid state that you might want to install, like the Samsung that I've used. Inside of that enclosure that kind of pushes it to its max. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Links in the description for any of this stuff. Leave a like. I'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions, I'm here to help you. Don't be shy. So ask me anything and I'll help you. I mean, these are the numbers. This is what you get. That's all there is to it. All right, thank you guys so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Place the file in destination. Whew, that was so fast. And that's going from regular SSD to the newest one. So that was over 350 megabytes per second write and read speed. And now I'm going to copy to itself. So this is the newest one. We're going to copy and make a copy of a file to itself. So this is going to be read and write speed combined to itself. Oh my God. That was insanely fast. Hello everyone, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video, I will show you how to upgrade your computer to the latest M.2 type of solid state drive. So that way we have the latest and the fastest and the greatest performance ever when it comes to hard drives, right? So this is the best one. This is the current one, 970 EVO NVMe M.2 with the VNAND SSD, which is the new type of memory that they switched over from a standard solid state drives, a type of memory that it's used. Anyways, without boring you too much, here's a problem. A lot of times we want the best, but we don't necessarily want to spend a whole lot of money on buying a new computer, and we want to install one of these, and this is what they look like. This is one of these M.2 solid state drives. And the problem comes when we try to install it into our computer that is few years old. Chances are it will not have this type of slot, which it has these two types of notches. So let's open it up. This is a HP 800 G2 type of computer. So let's say you have one of these or something like it, or anything that is, a little bit older. It's not going to have a place for you to put this. It's simply not. So if you look here, where can you put this? Doesn't go there. Definitely not there. This is our PCI Express 16 time slot. Chances are we're going to have a video card here. So that's out of the question. These two are PCI Express times 2, I believe. Times 1, I'm sorry. These are times 1. And the next available thing we have is PCI Express times 4, which is this white one. So either way, we can't. There's no place to put this. What can we do about that? Well, we can buy an adapter that we can use to plug in our solid state drive that is the fastest, right? So, an option to that is, one option that we have is to buy one of these adapters. This one is by Ventec. And there will be a link in the description box just to make sure you guys buy the correct one. Thank you very much if you do buy one. And this one is an adapter for M.2 NVMe Plus, and also has a SATA M.2 SATA SSD, and it goes inside of PCI Express times 4. So as I mentioned earlier, we just want to make sure that we have one of these white slots, which is PCI Express times 4. So this is perfect. We have it free. Now we can install our adapter. It is crucial to make sure you buy the correct one. So I will link you the proper one. Inside the box, we have our adapter. Now you can see that there is a slot for our hard drive. Now we can insert our hard drive. And the way we would do that is by inserting it as so. Just a sec, I will zoom in so you guys can see this properly. Now we have a place for our hard drive. There is a little slot that matches just like so, and then we can now insert it precisely like this, a little bit on an angle, sort of like memory in a laptop. So it goes in on an angle, and you gently push it in to make sure that the little copper connectors are no longer visible, and then we simply lower it. It's going to be a little bit of spring action, but we do have a little hole here which we are going to use a screw and a washer to attach. It's super simple. They come with the package. By the way, the package for this adapter also comes with this really nice screwdriver, so you don't actually have to have your own. So it is a tool you need, but you don't actually have to have one because it does come with it. It's very surprising. I've never seen an adapter which only costs about $15 that came with a screwdriver. And it came with screw and a washer, which are these. I'm going to try to angle as properly as I can. See how this gold color one has it's a little bit different, and it goes underneath here. So if you have a same type of drive, which I will link in the description box, you can use this washer, insert it from underneath as so, and just kind of hold it with your index finger or whichever finger you prefer. Now we're going to use this screw to attach it, and we're going to use our screwdriver that came with the adapter, and then we're going to screw it in. Good thing it's magnetic, otherwise I would have lost it by now. Doesn't help that I had quite a bit of coffee this morning, so I'm a bit shaky. Come on. I promise you it's not this difficult, it's just that I'm clumsy. There it is. Okay, so once you get it caught like that, I'm trying to get you a little good angle here. Just gently screw it in. You don't have to force nothing. No, you don't need a lot of, just very gently. As soon as you feel it's tightening, you're done. So now it's not going anywhere. By the way, this I have attached a back plate for a low profile computer, which is this one. So it will come by default with a regular standard size plate for a regular computer, for regular size desktop, right? For like a mid tower or something like that. It does come with a low profile adapter, which is great because my 800G1 is a low profile computer. So I went ahead and attached that. I did notice about this adapter that this is actually a little bit long. It could be that my case is a little bit bent, but I left it a little bit loose here, right? So it's not a big deal. So I just left it a little bit loose to make it easier for me to actually install this drive. So just slightly loose, as long as it's in there and it has a little bit of room, because for me it was a little bit difficult to align this with the PCI Express slot ×4. And of course you have room for another drive which is used for the SATA. So if you connect the SATA, you can connect the drive here. This is what this is for. This one is specifically used from to PCI Express ×4, which is should be quite a bit, and should be a lot faster than just a regular SATA, right? Okay, now that we have this connected, I'm going to insert it into our PCI Express ×4. Of course, always be gentle with installing these. There's a little gap underneath here. I hope you can see it. I will try to kind of lift it up. There's a little gap underneath every time you install a card that you have to make sure that this part goes inside of. And ahead of time, I removed just the protective backplate that used to be here, and now I'm going to insert this as so. So again, be gentle, take your time. All computers are different. In generally speaking, all computers will have one of these white slots, which is what you need. Then I'm just going to align it. Once I know it's aligned properly, I'm just going to push it down, and there it goes. The way you know it's pushed in all the way is that you don't see any copper connectors. Now you're good to go, and I'm going to close this up. I'm going to connect this just in case, although I'm not using the slot for the SATA connector, but I'm going to connect it anyways, just in case I decide to use it for something later. That's that. And with that being installed, I'm going to put my cover back on. I'm going to go to my computer and show you what you need to do next after this. Ideally speaking, this should just show up as a drive on your computer, and then all you got to do is just format it, which I will show you real quick too. It's no big deal. But if you were trying to use it as a boot drive, you can certainly do so. Depending on your computer, you may have to go to BIOS and make some changes in there for it to show up properly. Maybe not. But just keep that in mind. If you're trying to install OS on it on a fresh computer and you don't see it, make sure you go inside of BIOS and make appropriate changes. Okay, let's go to our computer and see.
So with the hardware installed itself and with the computer turned on, what is the first thing we're going to check? Well, obviously we're going to check to see if our drive shows up. As you may have noticed, my computer here has 2 drives installed. And to see if the third one is installed, we're going to go to this PC. And unfortunately, our drive doesn't show up. Well, why is that? As I mentioned earlier, we will have to format the drive in order to show up. If we want to get a little bit more technical to make sure that our adapter that we've installed for our drive is installed properly, we can check that first. So let's do that real quick, and then we're going to go and format our drive and set it up properly so it actually shows up. The way you do that is through the device manager. So if you have, Windows 10, you can just type in device manager, go through that, or alternatively, you can just type in, my computer, which is old way of saying this PC on Windows 7, but it's this PC on Windows 10. So once you have that, you may have an icon on your desktop as well. You can just right click it, select properties, and then from there you can access device manager. So let's open up our device manager and see if there are any errors. We would expect to be some errors because our drive is not showing up, but they're not because everything's actually correct. We just have to do a little bit configuration. So in order to see if our NVAM driver controller has been installed, we're going to go to storage controllers. We're going to expand that to see. And then we can, at the bottom, see that we do have indeed standard NVM Express controller installed. These other 2 are for our SATA loopback controller, storage space controller, and VHD loopback controller. We don't have to worry about that. At this point, we do want to make sure that this here is installed without any issues. This indicates to us that the adapter works perfectly. So this is all good. So now let's go format our drive so that way we can see it. The one way to do that is through our manage options, and this is fine again with this PC or my computer, and then going to right click it, and then we're going to manage our storage from there. Not to confuse you, we're just going to right click on this PC, my computer, or whatever it is that you have, and then we're going to select manage, which is right here. We're going to select manage, and then we're going to look for storage, which is right here, and then we're going to look for disk management because we know that we've installed a disk, or this is an old way of saying, hard drive, but because it's actually no longer a disk. It's actually kind of funny, but this is where it's going to be. So we're going to select that, and we're going to see what happens. And the system has found our drive immediately, and it's asking us what kind of style of partition do we want. And this is where we can tell it to create a master boot record type of partition on this PCI Express M.2 slot drive. But, so you can select that if you want and click OK, and then it's going to create a type of partition for a boot type of partition. For that, I will go ahead and leave it at GPT, and it's a new type of partition that is not recognized by a previous version of Windows. So Windows 7 will not have this option whatsoever. Then I'm going to click OK, and now we have our partition here which hasn't been allocated. So basically what this does is we tell the computer how much of the storage we want to use. Because if we go back here to our computer here, we can still see, I'm going to refresh this, it's still not showing up because all it is just a partition. It hasn't been allocated in the sense where we need to tell the computer how much of it do we want to use. And we want to use all of it. Why not? Why would we want to not use all of it? So we're going to right click it here. We know this is our drive, and we're going to select new simple volume. And this is self-explanatory. We're just going to click next on this wizard. We're going to leave it at default, and we're just going to click next again. Here you can change the letter if you really want to. I will change it. I will just leave it at E to make it simple. And there are other things you can do, but right now we're just installing this drive so that we can use it. If you are interested in a lot of other IT stuff or computer related stuff that go into detail about this stuff, you can certainly go through my channel. I have a lot of videos like that. Then we're going to click next, and I'm going to format it. I'm going to leave it NTFS, because it's internal. We're not going to use anything else. So leave everything at default. You can label it as something else. In my case, I'm going to be using this as a scratch drive for my video editor because it's fast. Adobe Catch. So I'm going to call it that, and I'm going to perform a quick format. And I'm going to click next and then finish just to confirm that everything is what I want. And as you can see, it appeared immediately here. And now we're going to go inside of it. So every time you, partition a drive and then after you format it, it actually is less of actual storage, if you will. You guys probably know this already. If a drive is 256 gigabytes after you format it, it actually goes down to 232. There's an explanation of that. Anyways, I'm not going to bug you about the technical aspects of this. We're just going to see how fast it is. So this is our regular standard drive. This is magnetic drive. This is not even a solid state. This one is solid state. So let's go do a quick test to see why would you want to do this. I'm just going to go here and I'm going to, let's do this. I'm just going to take one of my old videos here. These are pretty large 4K videos. This is 7.92. Let's do this one, 755 megabyte. Let's see how fast we can copy this to our regular solid state. I'm going to create this. This is our regular solid state drive as a boot system. This is not the one we installed. So this is OS SSD, and I'm going to create new folder in here. We're going to call this one optical drive, old style of hard drive. Okay, I'm going to create desktop shortcut. This is just so we can tell the test in between. We're going to copy back and forth, and we're going to create another folder inside of our new, this is our brand new M.2 drive. And I'm going to send that to desktop so that way we can test to see how fast we can copy from each two, right? Okay. Gonna sort them like this. So this is old, newer, the best, the newest, which is what we have installed here. So I'm going to copy from old. This is old one. We're going to go inside of it. Going to open it up here. Old style. Operating system. And M.2. So the video I've selected here was 755 megabytes. Let's see how fast it will write this into our regular solid state drive. So this is our old drive, right? This is old drive. I just want to make sure that that's clear. This is old. We're going to copy to itself. We're going to see write and read speeds in real time, and it'll just show up in Windows. It's just going to show how fast it's going. So we're going to do this. I'm going to paste it. So it's copying to itself. And it says about 10 seconds. It doesn't mean much. Okay. So we're seeing around 40 megabytes per second on average when it comes to speed. Now we're going to copy from old to new, and then I'm going to copy to itself afterwards. So this is testing speed to the new one, to the newer one. And look at that. It's almost 100 megabytes per second. And now we're going to copy from the old one to the newest one. So what we saw here is that around 100 megabytes per second actual speed to regular solid state. Now this is the newest one from the old one, keep in mind. And this is also going about the same speed. This is because the read speed from the old one is limited to that. So now we're going to copy from standard SSD to itself, just to see. Look at those speeds. It does start off strong, but it does taper down to 60-ish, right? So the read speed on this one, on the regular solid state, is around that in real time. Now we're going to copy from this to that, to the newest one that we have. Place the file in destination. Whew, that was so fast. And that's going from regular SSD to the newest one. So that was over 350 megabytes per second write and read speed. And now I'm going to copy to itself. So this is the newest one. We're going to copy and make a copy of a file to itself. So this is going to be read and write speed combined to itself. Oh my God. That was insanely fast. That was insanely fast. Okay. So I'm going to do it again. Oh my God. That was so fast, guys. So really, why would you not want this? Especially if you're doing video editing. This is so insanely fast. I'm actually mind blown because I've never had one of these myself. This is crazy fast. Oh my God. All right, guys. I hope that wasn't too much to keep up with, and I hope I demonstrated that properly, but the speed of that was just insane. And again, if you're interested in any of this, there are links in the description for this adapter and for this drive. Insane speeds, guys. Thank you so much. Please tell your friends about this. I really do appreciate it. And I am here for you if you have any questions, if you need any help in regards to this. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Oh man, I can't wait to play with this.
Around 100 and 110. And mind you, this is with monitor turned on. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. In today's video, I wanted to share what I find to be the truth about power supplies. How much power do you really need? I get this question a lot because I have a lot of hardware upgrade videos, and in this video I will show you exactly what happens when your computer is under load. And look, please stick around because I'm going to tell you what my opinion is on this without having to throw out numbers about power supplies. How much wattage, how much amperage, how much is the load wattage, this and that. Look, I'm just going to tell you what you need, period, without you having to worry about all these numbers and having all these questions. It's going to be very simple. That being said, guys, please take 1 second to like this video. I really appreciate it. It really helps me a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So here it is, guys. I really wanted to show you something very interesting. This is my power meter that is plugged into the wall, and into it is plugged in a power strip which everything is connected to. For example, my PC, my monitor, and all the audio amplifiers and this and that, everything else, everything is connected to that power strip. The power strip is behind this box here, but you can see the idle is around 100, but I really want to show you real quick. See, this is my custom PC. It's i9, it's overclocked on top of that, and it has an RTX card in it. And the idle is 100, around 100 and 110. And mind you, this is with monitor turned on. And I have a large monitor. Let me zoom out here. I have a large monitor here. This is a 42-inch, I'm sorry, it's a 40-inch monitor which draws around 50 watts. So if I was to turn it off, the idle would be around 60 watts. So with the monitor turned on and the PC running on idle, this is how much it's consuming just by itself. Now I will show you a stress test. I'm going to run a video game on it, or some kind of benchmark to show you, and the video editing software to show you what kind of wattage we're working with. Now let me go ahead and turn off the monitor so that we can see what the idle is, just to show you proof what the idle is without the monitor. Okay, I've turned off the monitor. Let's have a look here, and there it is. It's around the light bulb idle. So that's my PC turned on. You can still see it running. Anyways, let's get to the stress test and I'll show you how that looks like. Alright guys, so here's a game running. This is just Dirt Rally, a replay that I wanted to show you. But it is running the game in real time. I wanted to show you how much power I'm actually using here. And everything is set as ultra on there, by the way. And you can see it's not even using 200 watts. But you know, what I've seen it actually do is around 250 watts, 240 watts. Mind you, this is still with monitor, so you have to remove at least 50 watts out of that. And that's the game running. You can see that the game is running here. Right? So let me get out of the replay here. Let me get out of the replay here. I wanted to show you what is doing now. So it's around, should be around 200 watts minus the monitor itself. So I mean, depending on the game, but I've seen it go as high as like 250, 260, and sometimes even close to 300 watts. But again, that's with the monitor, so you still have to exclude the monitor wattage, which brings it down to 250 at the worst case scenario on a computer that's overclocked i9. Guys, when you overclock something, you push the wattage a lot more. Plus a video card that recommends, the manufacturer recommends 300 watt power supply. And yet, I'm not even using anything close to that. So what's the deal? Alright guys, so here it is. I'm exporting a video right now in Adobe Premiere. The CPU utilization is 100% at 4.7 gigahertz. So the CPU is working really hard. And let's see how much of a GPU is being used. Just bear with me here. The GPU is being utilized around 20%. So we got 20% of GPU, and that goes to show that your computer or software in your computer is never going to use 100% of both at any moment. Whenever you're running any software, whether it's video editing or video games. So it's CPU 100% and GPU was around 20% of usage. Now let's go over here and see how much power is being used. 290, 280 wattage minus the monitor, which is around 50 watts. when I disconnect the monitor. It's going to go around 300 a little bit, 326. Anyways, so it's still way below 300 when it comes to power usage at any moment. And you saw that utilization was 100% of the CPU and the GPU was 20%. Again, keep in mind, when you run a video game or video editing, it's not necessarily going to use 100% of any of those. CPU, yes, for video editing. Video game, no. It depends. I mean, it's still going to be situational, but you're not going to be using 100% of GPU and CPU at any moment. Now, there are exceptions to this that you might come into this situation, and that is if you're, for example, doing streaming, like video game streaming. So the reason for that is because when you're doing streaming, your CPU is utilized a lot more. Otherwise, in a video game situation, you won't necessarily be using 100% of your CPU power anyways. So there you have it, guys. Minus the monitor that's connected to it, see, now it's finished, and it's going back down to the idle speeds. Minus the monitor that's connected to it, and all the other audio amplifiers connected to it, including my microphones and all that stuff, it's still not even close to what they say that you need. And there you have it, guys. Every time you build a custom computer, just make sure you get a good name brand like EVGA here. And in my case, I got 500 watt power, but you can see that I don't even need that much. So if you want to play it safe, I'd say at least 400 watts, but please make sure you buy a good brand. Just because you see a power supply that's 500, 600, 700 or whatever watts and it's very cheap, like $30, $40, there's a reason for that, because it's bad quality. Be safe and just get a good brand, even if it's only like 400. And that being said, in some cases you don't even need that much, as I've shown in the video here beforehand. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below. I am really good at answering comments, so if you have anything to ask me, feel free to ask. Or if you just want to say hi, that's fine too. I really like to see those comments. Thank you, guys. Please click like and share, and you have a wonderful day, okay? Be safe out there. Bye-bye. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman, and today we're adding more RAM to a gaming laptop, which is an MSI GL627RD. There will be some other models that will also work the same way. So if you're watching this video for MSI brand type of laptop, you probably have the right one. For this we're using 8 gigabytes of crucial memory. There's a link in the description if you happen to have the same laptop. One way to tell that you have a similar or the same laptop is if you flip it over, you can see that the cover is just like this. There's nothing to flip off. We have to unscrew quite a few screws around this, and it should be fairly simple. We just have to take our time. One thing that's also crucial is being able to take it off of this part where the audio jacks are. So once you unscrew everything, the hard part is to actually remove it from this part without breaking. So take your time when you do so. So since for this laptop there are a lot of screws, make sure you keep track of them. We have a total of 16 screws that go all the way around, so keep track of those as you remove them. These happen to be a little bit deeper, so I had to use a regular screwdriver for this. So with the screws loose, you can just start popping this back plate off. Just take your time. Comes off just like this. And here we are at the difficult part of it here. Once you get to here, you just kind of lift up a little bit and then pop from this side. There we go. So Once you get it going snapping from here, kind of go move it like this way so it pops off gently off of the edge of the connectors here. Now that we have access to the memory modules, we can see that there's one empty spot where we're going to insert our memory card. By the way, if you're changing your battery, this is how you would do it. You have to pop the back off as well, and there's one screw that holds it in, and then it just slides out. Installing memory is really simple. Take it out of your package. The main thing you have to watch for is the gap in the middle here. You can see that this is wider and this is narrower, and then we have a little gap in the middle. So all you got to do is just compare your RAM. You can see that it doesn't go that way, so we're just going to flip it over like this, and then we're going to insert it like that. The way you do it is just simply align it like that. You want to make sure you have a good view of that. With a spring, it has a spring on it. All you got to do is just push down like that, and then you're done. Your RAM is installed, and now you gotta just put the cover back on, and then that should do it. Alright guys, thank you for watching. If you need links to any of this, check it out in the description below. Please share with friends, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Have a good day. Alright, before I go away, let me show you how to put this lid back on. Again, this is the hardest part around these audio jacks, so just kind of like we did in the reverse. Start from the top, where the audio jacks are, kind of align it like that, and then just lower it. Very simple, and it will save you a lot of headache. Just don't ever force anything here, because everything is really thin on these type of laptops. So take your time and enjoy your RAM upgrade. Bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video we're going to change thermal paste on a stock HP computer. We're going to basically see if there's any difference when it comes to thermal paste from the stock factory HP computers versus an aftermarket thermal paste. This is a very interesting test because it kind of will show you whether it makes any difference. As long as you're doing it properly, I suspect it's not going to make any difference. But if you're somebody who's expecting overheating issues, your computer is crashing or something like that, and you want to know how to professionally install thermal paste on your computer, this is a perfect video for you, as I am an IT professional. Before we start, take 1 second, please, to like this video. It really makes a big difference for me. And all right, let's get into it and see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, here is our benchmark setup. For this, we're going to use 3 different tools. The first one being Hardware Info 64, so we can monitor our sensors on the CPU itself. At the same time, you can make sure that the clocks are set to what they're supposed to be at stock speeds. And then we have CPU Z, so we can use it to stress the CPU. That's right, CPU Z, if you didn't know, actually has a benchmark in it, or a way to push your CPU to 100%, so that way you can use it for testing of the temperatures if you'd like. But I also wanted to make sure that you guys indeed see that it's this computer as well. And to make sure that everything is legit, I want you to take a close look at the entire desktop here to make sure that indeed everything is done on the exact same computer with the exact same settings. So I don't want any funny business to be assumed in any way. We're going to do this properly, making sure that everything is legitimate and not misleading, because we got to know whether our new thermal paste is going to make any difference or is going to make things worse. And then the last tool that we have is our just task manager. Task manager is really good for monitoring simple things. For that, we're going to go to the performance tab, and we're going to make sure that the CPU utilization is 100 when we're doing the benchmark. Whenever we push the CPU, we're going to make sure it's pushed to 100%. And for that to happen, we're going to use CPU's bench. You see where it says bench here? We're going to click on bench tab, and then we're going to select stress CPU. We're going to push it to the max using CPU Z. At the same time, you can also see while it's happening what the max hertz are displayed. So that's way, by the way, this is a computer that you cannot overclock anyways. So this is one of the stock HP 800 G2 computers that run at stock speeds.
and we're going to push it, and without changing any of those settings, because we can't anyways, we can't overclock it, but we're going to see. So right now it's been idling for a while, and it looks like there's something going on in the background. I think Windows is just updating. I think that's what it's going on here, but that's fine. The CPU is being pushed to 30%. We're going to push it to the max. So it doesn't matter what's running in the background, doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. As long as we push the CPU to 100%, that's what matters. This is how you're testing the max temperature on the CPU. All right. Looking at the hardware info, we have our core 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know it's labeled 0, but that's just how it is. This is a 4-core processor. We're going to pay attention to these temperatures as our form of benchmarking. Let's see. We're going to allow it, I'd say, about a minute or so to see what's the maximum temperature we can reach. Usually it doesn't take long to hit the maximum temperature when you're pushing the CPU to 100%, so it's not going to take that long to hit that peak. Interestingly enough, the temperatures are not really changing that much from what was happening during 30% CPU utilization. So right now, core 0 and 1, or anyways, you guys know what this is. It's 4 cores. It's just that it's labeled core 0 but it should be core 1. Anyways, so far 53 Celsius is the highest we are seeing when it comes to pushing this CPU. We saw 54 on the core 2, 54 Celsius, just to be exact, not Fahrenheit. If it was Fahrenheit, it would be really cold. It would be really cool to touch. It wouldn't be like freezing cold. 32 would be freezing cold, but 54, these are Celsius. That's my point. These are Celsius, guys. So yeah, every time you benchmark, and every time I benchmark my own other computers as well for the CPU temperatures, even the overclock ones, it took no more than 30 seconds to reach the maximum load, or maximum, I should say, temperature on a full load of the CPU. Again, please keep attention to everything that's going on. We still have 100% CPU utilization, and looks like the maximum speed for this i5 6500 is 3.3 gigahertz roughly. Let's see where we're at. We got 56 Celsius, what it's been maybe a minute or two. I think that's good enough, and it looks like it's fluctuating, so it's going to be around 56. Let's take that as the highest number. Well, 58. Oh, I saw it go to 58. All right. So we're going to look at this here at the maximum, where it says maximum column. All right, let's do this right here. Make it simple for us, guys. That's the maximum here, right there. 58 Celsius. So we're going to do the same thing, and I will show you how to change the thermal paste to see if it'll make any difference. All right, guys, here is our computer here. As you can see, this indeed is the 800 G2. God knows I've made many videos on this and how to upgrade it, this and that. If you want to check those out, feel free to do so on my channel. Alright, we're going to do some zoom in action. We're going to remove the CPU. Alright, I'm just trying to get the focus in, and then we're going to make it happen. I'm going to turn on some lighting so we can make it visually pleasing, and then we're going to change the thermal paste, and hopefully it works. Alright, for thermal paste, I actually bought a little tub action, and this one is called Protonic Series Thermal Paste. It comes with a cleaning pad and a little spatula. The reason I bought this one is because I plan to do this often, and you get a lot more than you get in a syringe. So we're going to try to use this one. There's a link in the description if you're interested. It had really good reviews. This is why I bought it. You know, if you don't know what's good, I actually look at the reviews first and then see if it's any good. This is why I went for this particular one. Link in the description. And yeah, let's see if it works. Alright, first thing first, I'm going to remove these cables here. A little flappy flap here. I want to make sure that I can see this properly. Going to unplug this cable, move it out of the way. By the way, I can feel it that it's warm since we tested it, so hopefully I don't burn myself. Temperature should have gone down by now. We'll see. Alright, and for this particular one, we just need a flat head. It's different for the other computers that have a standard type of Intel type of or AMD heatsink, so you're gonna have to do it a little bit differently here, but since we're just doing a benchmark and not how to, in this case I'm just gonna use a flathead screwdriver because this is how it is on this computer. I'm going to unscrew these here. These are actually nice. I wish all computers were like this. Makes it really easy. We can't forget about our fan cable, which is plugged in to the motherboard. Isn't this nice? I wish all computers were like this, where everything is just screwed in. Otherwise, you're using the clips, all kinds of clip action, and sometimes it doesn't fit, and then sometimes it doesn't clip in properly, and then suddenly your heatsink is sitting crooked, which can also cause overheating. You know, it'll be sitting like this on an angle, like it'll be like this, because clips over here didn't clip in. Anyways, this one is off. I'm going to unplug the fan here. There we go. It's still warm. It's kind of warm to touch. So this is what it looks like. This is our old thermopaste. Not much left on here. We're going to use that cleaning pad that came with our kit for installing. I think this is just the alcohol swab or whatever. And we're going to clean the CPU as well. Hopefully you can see that well. I'm going to kind of double check here. Alright, I'm going to do a quick zoom in action. Right there, we're going to clean the CPU first. And then we're going to get back to the heat sink. I'm trying to get a little better angle for you guys here. I'm not going to take the CPU out at all. But I will do zoom in action so you guys can see better. Hopefully this flap doesn't get in the way too much. Alright, let me see. Do I have focus? Alright, just a moment. There we go. That's focus. Action. And hopefully this shows up on the camera. There's a little bit of residue, so yeah, be careful when you're doing this. No need to say this, right guys? You should know that you should be careful when doing this. Because, you know, we're dealing with electronic components here. Here's our little spatula. We're going to put that aside. And we're going to use it later. We're going to see how much we need to apply. Keep in mind, I am an IT professional, so I should be able to do it properly. That being said, hopefully I don't make myself look like a fool. But we shall see. Alright, so I took my thermal cleaning pad here. Let me smell it. Yep, it smells like cleaning alcohol maybe? I don't know. So I'm going to gently just kind of rub on it. And since there isn't a lot, you can see that it's coming off. You know, it's just brushing off like this, you see? So very evenly distributed thermal paste on this CPU, which is good. So we're going to brush it off. Very simple. Don't touch nothing else with the cleaning pad. If there's a little bit left down there on the side, who cares? Who cares? No big deal. If you really want to get it out, I suppose you could. But I'm just going to wipe it off since there is not a lot of spilled on the sides. So I'm not worried about it. Otherwise, if somebody did a really crappy job, then I would have to take my time cleaning this. But this is factory. This is factory applied thermal paste. And now it's smooth to touch. And now we can also double check to make sure that this indeed is i5 6500. Alright, let me do a more zoom in action here. i5. Getting the focus in, guys. Hold on. Just a moment. Trying to get the focus in for you. Hopefully that's visible there. Alright. So it's clean. And then we're going to do the same thing on the heatsink. Let me do a zoom out. Alright. So we're going to do the same thing on the heatsink. Heatsink is a little bit spilled, a little bit more there. You can see on the sides. A little bit more spilled action. But that's okay. Just going to wipe it off the best I can. Comes off just like that. Very easy, very simple. Again, I'm not sure if it's going to make any difference. This is why we're testing this. So that being said, this could be a successful marketing video for that thermal paste that we bought. You know, not a sponsor at all. All right, that's clean. All right, a little bit more, a little bit more, just a little bit more, a little bit. I'm gonna put some muscle into it. All right, cleaning action. Ah, ow! I think I scratched myself when I did that. Ugh, right there. All right. Anyways, all right. So we're going to apply the thermal paste to the heatsink action. You know how they say when it comes to applying the heatsink thermal paste to the heatsink, they say you should use just a little dot there, right? The thing is though, the confusing thing about that is, so you just squeeze it, you get a little syringe looking thing, right? And you squeeze the syringe and you just put a little dot there, which is perfectly fine. But they don't tell you that you have to actually spread it out, because once you do this, once you put this in, once you put the heatsink on and you squeeze the little dot and not actually spread it out, guess what's going to happen if you don't have enough on there? It's just going to leave a circle. I've seen it many times where it's literally just a circle right there of thermal paste. I would take the heatsink off and it's just a circle left. It'll be like this, kind of, like this. And you can see that's not covering the entire heatsink. It's not covering. If you remember when we were testing the temperatures, you probably saw that the temperatures were not the same everywhere on the heatsink. Different cores, different temperatures. Well, that's directly related to the heatsink when it comes to thermal paste, and also the heatsink itself, but basically the location of the thing. Where's my spatula? Here it is. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a very light coat, and I'm just going to do a light coat spreading action on here. But I will start from the middle, just to kind of make it easy. Not too much, just a little bit, but I'm going to make it even. You know, take your time. Doesn't have to be completely perfect. Just make sure it's evenly spread. Like this. And when we put the heatsink on, it will squeeze it a little bit. So as long as you have even coverage, doesn't matter that it has these lines on it. So I'm trying to keep my face away from here, so I'm not really super close to this. Doesn't matter that it leaves these lines on there. Once you put the heatsink on, it's going to even it out, you know. It's going to squeeze it into being even. I'm trying to get this extra that's on there. Alright. Alright, let's see. Is that enough? Here we go. I'm going to do a little light action just to make it pretty for the camera, right? As much as I can. Again, it's going to squeeze it to the edges. So that's a very light coat. Have you ever bought an aftermarket heatsink and everybody has thermal paste installed on it? It's going to be a light coat like this. Very light coat. Alright. That's the best I can do when it comes to doing this while keeping my face away from the camera. Look at that. So it's a very nice, even, light coat. That's all we need. Because when we put the heatsink back on, I'm going to put this stuff away. When we put the heatsink back on, look how much there is left. It's unbelievable. It's like I barely used any, right? It's going to have perfect, the heatsink is supposed to have a perfect, even contact on top of that. Alright, so here we go. Here's our heatsink, and then we're going to put it back on. Let me do a zoom out action here. Alright. Gotta make sure that my fan connector is facing that way so I can plug it in. And this is going to be a lot simpler than installing other heat sinks again. So I'm going to do even. I'm not going to go hard. I'm just going to do even, roughly even amount of tightening on all sides. So I think I'm doing about 3 turns here. You see how it's going left and right here? I just want to make sure it's evenly tight. It doesn't have to be exactly 3 turns or anything like that. This is specific to this computer. And just go light, very light. The other ones, it's just going to be a clip. You just push the clips down. Here I'm just being very gentle to make sure that I have even contact on there. Never go crazy on this stuff. Don't use your Gorilla Strength on this, or Gorilla Glue, if you guys know what I'm talking about. See, that's already getting tight. It's very light. I'm not gonna go like anything crazy. You know, it's very light. I'm barely using any force in here. Barely using any force. That one's down all the way, so is this one. But we want to do it evenly on all sides so we can get even coverage all around. And I'm just going to do a little bit tightening, maybe like ½ pound of force on here. No more than that. Alright, that's that. I'm going to plug this back in. I wonder if I can do this without many cuts on the video, huh? There'll be a couple of cuts, me going from computer to this. Oh yeah, I almost forgot this thing. This air guide. Alright. Clippage, flappage, cableage, and tuckage in the all areas. And we're going to close this and we're going to go back to our computer. We're going to test this. See if it helps. All right, see you there. All right, our computer is loaded. Let's set it up real quickage. See what we have. Just like we had it before, we're going to do CPU Z action. We're going to do hardware info 64 action. And we're going to run sensors again. So yeah, again, remember when I asked you to pay attention to the desktop to make sure it's the exact same thing? Well, here you go. It's the exact same thing. And just a real quick again, here we go. Intel i5 6500. It's all the same. Running at 3.2. And let's see here. We're going to go back to our performance tab. We're going to highlight CPU here. Just a little arrangement here. We're going to do our bench. And now the moment of truth. We're going to crank it up to 100%. All right. So far, what was the record last time? The maximum was 58 Celsius. So let's see. I'm not sure actually. This is my first time actually using this thermal paste. Again, I bought it because it had the best reviews. So we're going to see if it's going to make any difference here. I suspect that a lot of people that bought it, they bought it because they had some kind of a thermal paste issue thing where they didn't install it properly like I mentioned, or didn't apply the thermal paste properly at all. And when they actually changed it, it made a huge difference. Here, I don't expect to be a huge difference at all, but we shall see if it'll make any difference at all. The thing is, though, I will give it the fact that that spatula is really helpful. It makes it really easy to apply that thermal paste as long as you take your time and just do a light coat of it. And you can see, remember how I mentioned the different temperatures in cores? Interestingly enough, you saw me apply the even amount, but look at this core here, core number 2, and even actually previously, I don't know if this is by the design of the CPU, these two, core 2 and 3, are always actually lower regardless of what was connected on there, or regardless of thermal paste being used. So these are, I don't know, I guess it's the location of the cores themselves, the physical location of the cores. So it's some kind of design thing, I suppose. But yeah, if you don't apply it evenly across the entire chip, of course it's going to have uneven temperatures going. So in this case, looks to be just by design. So far, we're getting to 54, 53. I forget how long I actually talked for and let the other one run for, but we're going to allow it. I suspect it's going to be pretty close to the same temperatures. But hey, you know, if you want to know at least how to do it properly, at least this video showed you how to do it properly from an IT professional. I have many, many years of working in IT. So far, highest temperature is 54 compared to 58. I'm going to, yeah, here 55 Celsius here. It's going up. I'm going to do an overlay side by side. Hopefully, we'll see how at least the rise in temperature is different, or if there is any difference in the rise of temperature. So I'm going to put side by side pictures and see if the rise in temperature makes any difference. Again, we can see that we are doing 100% CPU at 3.3 gigahertz speeds. Hey, it looks like it's going to be the same temperatures. By the way, these are actually really low temperatures, which is great. 56 Celsius is pretty good, but you know, we're not overclocked or anything like that, so you are expected to have at least this type of this type of performance when it comes to temperature. As soon as you start to overclock, things change quickly, trust me, especially when you start to change voltage on the cores. When you start to change voltage on the cores. So 56 Celsius, so far the only difference of maximum is 56 Celsius. So we dropped the temperature by 2. Well, it's going to 57. So it's just a matter of time before it actually reaches the exact same temperatures. Again, running at 3.2 gigahertz. So that the thermal paste that was already on there, the stock thermal HP thermal paste that was on there does the same exact performance as the one that I just applied, and looks like our maximum here is 58 Celsius. Okay, so it really doesn't make any difference. We're just going to see a comparison and see if to the other one. I'm going to just stop it here because it's the same thing, and I don't know, we'll see. I don't know, comparatively speaking, how it's actually going to be different. But the point is at least that you might want to always apply thermal paste evenly, if nothing else. Alright guys, I hope this was educational in some way. It didn't make any difference at all as far as I can tell, applying new thermal paste to it. As far as I can tell. Again, we're going to watch the comparison side by side together, so we'll see if that's any different or not. But as it is, the moral of the story is just make sure the thermal paste is applied properly. Otherwise, you're going to be overheating no matter what. And the HP thermal paste looked to have been applied the same way and fairly evenly. So, at least we know how to do it properly as well and get the exact same results from factory. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good day and you take care now. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. In this video I will show you how to upgrade a video card on HP G1 or G2 desktop small form factor PC. Once I show you how to upgrade this video card, this will be a huge upgrade for our gaming, especially considering the fact that this computer has an i5-6500 CPU, which is amazing.
This way, in order to remove the lid, you just pull on the lever, lift it up, put it aside. Okay, so in order to install a video card, we just kind of have to move this part over here. And don't be afraid to actually pull in. This is actually by design. So if it's a little bit tough at first, just kind of force it through like this. You're not going to break anything. There's no button to press, but you just need a little bit more room to work with. Here's our 16 times PCI Express slot. This is what we need. This is a 4 times. If you have to install it in this, it would be okay. You would lose a little bit of performance. but still not too bad, right? But this is the one we want, the black one, which is 16 times PCI Express. Now we have this power cable, cable from the power supply we just need to remove. If you just want to slide these off a little bit, you don't actually have to disconnect it, but you can release it like this so you have more room to work with. Next thing we have to make sure is that we get the proper size. You need a low profile video card for this because it's a small form factor computer, so we want this one here. This one is too big, this one is just the right size, right? You see the difference? This will not fit because if you put it like down like this, there's no way, there's about an inch or so difference, there's no way this will fit in here, right? So we just have to make sure we get the proper low profile card, something like this, right? So the next thing we need to do is actually pop this spacer or separator here, and then we're going to pull one of these, preferably this last one here, depending on the shape of your card, but it will be most likely this here part of it, right? So this is just kind of a back plate, and then we're just going to put our video card in here like so. Now let me I actually, for this one, because my video card has actually a little extra here, I'm going to have to unplug my front USB panel connector. So these are basically the front USB connectors, right? So I'm just going to remove this for now, and we can replace this back later. All right, just going to remove this now. Also, make sure your video card does not require an extra power connector. This one has a 6-pin power connector. So your video card, you know, just make sure it's not like one of these that have. But if you do, it's not a problem. You can still use it. You just have to make sure you have an adapter that goes with it. The ones that I will recommend in the description box below will not require this, so you don't have to worry about this at all, right? We just have to make sure that it fits properly, right? Now that we know, we just have to make sure that we align this with our PCI Express slot, which is like that there. So now we got to make sure that our connector here aligns properly with our PCI Express slot. You can see there's a little notch right there, just like there, right? So we just have to make sure that's aligned. Lastly, real quick, a lot of times there's a little notch in there here that basically helps to keep that allows this slot to the back plate to connect underneath here. So make sure you don't force that, otherwise you may be damaging your motherboard. So just be careful don't force anything, right? So just don't force anything, right? There's the little tab right there, and here's the little notch that we have to make sure we don't that we have to make sure our back plate is inserted in there. So don't force anything if you're struggling a little bit by, you know, inserting your video card in there. All right, and if you want to unplug this cable, you can certainly do so. So you just make sure I just like to go underneath it because it saves a little bit of time, and then make sure you align it properly to this here. All right, just take your time. Whatever you do, take your time. Don't ever get frustrated whenever dealing with computer components. Make sure it's aligned over the PCI connector right there, right? So make sure we're aligning our notches. And again, take your time. Make sure don't force nothing. Just make sure it's aligned. So once you know that everything's aligned properly, right? Then you can safely push it down like so. Right? Now our video card is seated in properly and it's locked in by this little tab here. And now that video card is seated in there, all you got to do is put this flap back on like so. Now it's fully secured. You're done with this part. And then lastly, don't forget to plug in your front USB panel connector, which is right underneath here. Lastly, a type of video card I actually suggest for this type of computer will be in the description box below as well, which I recommend is NVIDIA 1050 GTX. There you have it, guys. If you'd like to see more of this video, or specifically for this computer on how to install everything else, there will be a link in the description box below. Also, there will be thumbnail links at the end of this very video. Thank you so much for watching. Share, like with friends, this and that, and I'll see you next time. I wish you best of luck, my friends. Bye-bye. Hello, my name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. This video is about upgrading or adding extra RAM into your EliteBook 840, G1, G2, or G3. It should be the same for all of those models. This particular model is a G2. This is how it looks like it's open. You can see that it's an Elite book. So if you have the exact same computer, visually speaking, that means this video is for you, right? Flip it upside down. So up top here you have a little safety feature that locks and unlocks this bottom plate that protects everything that's underneath, which is our electronic components. And you already know this if you watched my previous video, which is about upgrading to solid state drive, which I will post a link to right here. So in order to unlock this, we're just going to slide this over, and once it turns red, that means it's unlocked, and then we're just going to slightly push it forward like so, and then we're going to lift up. As simple as that. We have our solid state drive here, we have our CPU here, we have the CPU fan here, and here is our RAM. As you can see, there are 2 slots available for this type of RAM, and if you need a specific RAM that will work for this, there will be a link in the description where you can buy the exact RAM that will work with this. So before we do anything with our RAM, we got to make sure that we remove our battery, which is super simple. Just like removing our bottom lid, we're just going to unlock it like so. Make sure it shows red, that means it's unlocked. There's another lock here, but this one has a spring on it, so you got to hold the spring as so. It does click in, but sometimes you have to hold the spring. So now that you see red on both sides, you can pull on this tab to remove the battery. So for RAM replacement, you don't need actually any tools. I'm just using this to kind of point with. But it's very simple to remove this. You see these little 2 tabs? We're just going to push them to the side, left and right, and to release the RAM that is slotted underneath here. And compared to the free slot here, you can see there's a little notch that helps us orient where the RAM slots in, and it kind of sits on an angle once you try to put it in. I'll show you that here in a second. So we're going to release these. We're going to do one here. We're going to do another one here. And see how it pops out like that and stays at an angle. At this point you can take it out. And just to kind of do you a favor, I'm going to show you what kind of RAM this is. I'm just going to leave it here for a sec. You can see that it's a Samsung type of RAM. And again, there will be a link to this RAM in the description box below, or something similar to it that should be compatible. However, I will try to get the exact same RAM for you so you don't have to worry about finding it. This particular piece of RAM is 8 GB, as you can see here. So if you want to add 8 more, you can certainly do so by installing it right here. So remember, this used to sit like this. You just slot it in like so. Make sure that the connectors, let me show you this real quick. You see how these copper connectors are kind of visible here? Once you slot it in, you don't want to actually see these. I mean, it's okay if they peek out a little bit, but you want to make sure they go all the way in as much as possible. And let me try to install it into the second slot here. So we're just going to put it in like so. I'm going to let it slide, and I'm going to tilt it over a little bit so you guys can see. You see how it's slotted in quite a bit inside. You can see. Okay. Now that we have it properly inserted, we're just going to lower this down, because what will happen is these side clips will just snap into the position. So all you got to do is just press down, and they clipped in like so. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to release it so you guys can see how simple this is. I'm going to release the clips. Okay, that one actually flew out. It's a good opportunity to showcase the springiness of this thing. So I'm going to put it back where it was. Slide it in, and there's a little spring action, as you know. And I'm just going to do it with one hand now, with one finger. I'm going to make sure to slide it in. If you're not 100% sure that it's in, you can adjust these a little bit. But once it clips in like that, you are good to go. And there you have it, guys. If you're interested in looking at my other videos related to this specific model, there will be a link at the end of this video. So look for that big box that will link to other videos related to this laptop. I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. That's what I'm here for. So don't feel embarrassed or ashamed or anything like that. Don't be scared. Feel free to ask any questions. I am here to help you. This is what I'm here for. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Now, as the last thing, now that we have it installed like so, we got to make sure that we install our battery back in, and then we're just gonna slide it in like so. We're just gonna press down on it, make sure it's locked in. We're gonna lock it in. Our battery is locked, and then we can insert our lid back on. You just kind of drop it down like so. Make sure there's a little bit of gap so that way you kind of know that it's sitting on top properly. We're just gonna pull it like so towards ourselves, and then we're gonna lock it back up, and you're done. Welcome, my friends. This is HP 840G1 laptop. My name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. Welcome to my channel. If you have this type of laptop, this is a perfect video for you because I will show you how to install a solid state drive on it. And just to open it up real quick, just so you guys see that it's the exact same laptop that you have. If you have the same laptop, then you're in the right place. If it looks like this, just like this, then you're definitely going to benefit from this video. So what we're going to do is install one of these drives. This is a Samsung 860 EVO SATA 6 gigabits per second drive with a newest technology, which is VNAND. So what does that mean? That means it's the latest and the greatest. Of course, Samsung is not. Of course, the reason I'm using Samsung is because I had a really good experience with it, and this is the only thing I can recommend when it comes to solid state drives. If you're interested, there is a link in the description box below for the exact same one. Right now, this 500 gigabyte one is around $75 US, and the 1 terabyte one is around $150. So the price is going to vary up and down, but nonetheless, it's a very good deal. It's a good time to upgrade to solid state drive, so that way you can increase the performance and also the space. These do come as an optional solid state drive, but if you do get one, it's 128 gigabytes, which is not good enough. We need more space. And of course, if you have a regular magnetic type of drive, then you're definitely going to want to upgrade to a solid state. So in order to remove this bottom plate cover, it's super simple. We just have to make sure this is unlocked. It was already unlocked, so we're just going to slide it to the right or away so we see the red. Once we see the red, we're just going to slide this that way and just pull it up. Super simple. No rocket science there. First thing we got to do is remove our battery so we don't cause any short circuit. Similar to our back cover, we do have to unlock it right here, make sure it's red. And this one is, there's another one here, but it's on a spring, so you have to kind of hold it like that and then pull on this little convenient tab like so. And now your battery is removed. Now we have direct access to our solid state drive, or where our hard drive typically goes. There's just 4 screws. And of course it says here solid.
I'm sorry for interrupting this video. At this point, I'm just talking about an option of different type of solid state drive that you can use. However, these are not readily available, so don't bother even looking for them because I don't want you to make a mistake and buy the wrong one. Just buy the standard one that I showed you earlier. Thank you.
So don't go purchasing something like this. This is an amazing drive. This is also the latest 970 EVO NVMe M.2. However, this one is too long. It would not fit. So super simple. Make sure you have a Phillips head screwdriver, and then we're just going to unscrew 4 of these. These do have self-retaining little springs, so they're not going to fall out or anything. So just keep going at it. Of course, carefully not to damage anything, but you can see they're not going to fall out, so you don't have to worry about the little screws falling in. And the last one here. And from there we have to pull it that way, and similar to our battery, there's a little tab that we can pull on, so we're just going to pull that way, and this is going to separate from here. So feel free to tug on that. Well, I put a little too much force on that. Anyways, you can see what happened there. It separates like that. You can see the little arrow that's pointing inwards. This is a good way to tell you which way the solid state should go. And then you just pull it out as so. From here, you just unscrew these screws here to release the drive, and then you pull it out. As you saw, these do fall out. No big deal though if you lose one or two of them. I mean, it's not like it's going to hold anything heavy in. These are all plastic, right? I mean, the solid state drives are plastic, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, now that you're done, you just have to pull that out like so. And what was inside is this solid state drive, which is 128 gigabytes. That's not big enough. By the time we install our operating system, I don't even know how many of anything we can install program-wise afterwards. So definitely want to upgrade to something like this. Again, this is a Samsung 500 gigabytes. 500 gigabytes is plenty for most people. And again, 1 terabyte is really cheap nowadays, 150 bucks. Link in the description box below. We're going to put it like that. We're going to make sure that our arrow is pointing the correct way. Put our screws back on. Okay, reverse. Just drop it in like so. It's plastic. You don't have to worry about putting any stress on this because it's not a mechanical or anything like that. Once you drop it in, make sure it's kind of loose like that. No big deal. And you just push it in. Just reverse. Make sure it goes all the way in. Tighten your screws back up. Don't force anything. There's really no need. We just don't want it to start moving. Matter of fact, if I stop right now, it'll be perfectly fine. That's why I said, even if you do lose some of the screws, it's all good. So with the drive installed, all we have to do is just put our battery back in, as so. Make sure it just kind of slides in like that. Just make sure that these little notches go in underneath that. Push it down. This locks right away. Make sure you lock this. Put the lid back on. In reverse like so. You just have to kind of make sure, just drop it in and just go like that. Pull it towards yourself, lock it back up, and there you have it, guys. Don't forget to share this video. I'd really appreciate it. Like it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. This is what I'm here for, so don't hesitate to ask any questions. If you go watch my other videos, you can see that I make it a mission to actually work with people and help them out with any questions that they have. I have time for that, so please do ask them. Thank you so much. I wish you best of luck, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. In today's video I will show you how to upgrade your HP 8100, 8200, 8300 and alike with a low profile video card for gaming. Alright guys, let's get to it.
So here's a quick comparison shot. This is a full size, full height video card, and this one is low profile, right? And here, let me show you. So you have to make sure that you do not buy this one, the regular height one, because it's not going to fit. You can see there's about a couple inches difference there, right? So we just have to make sure we get the proper height one. Now keep in mind, some of these video cards come with plates that you can swap out, so you can sometimes use it both as regular height and a low profile like this one, right? So you just have to make sure that you get the right size, right? Of course, in the description below I will provide a link to a really good video card that I think works best for this type of system. Alright, now let's get to it. In order to pop this open, we just pull this up and remove the lid real quick. Put that aside. Now we're going to be installing this one, right? We're going to be installing it like so, right? We're going to install this video card like so. But let me show you something. here's a full-size video card, right? Not only is it too long, it's just too tall, right? So comparatively speaking, this is how much it would stick out, right? So whenever you try to put the lid back, it'll be literally sitting like this over top of it, right? So that's not gonna work. So this is why we're gonna put this one aside, and now we got the proper size that we're going to install right here, right? Now keep in mind, before you purchase one of these, make sure that it does not have requirement for external or additional power source or a power adapter, right? So this one actually does. So in this case, I'm going to need an adapter to make it work. But this is why I'm going to put a link in the description box below to the type of video card that you don't need additional power. So you just put it in and then you're done with it, right? You just install the drivers, and then you're done. The one I'm going to put in the description box below is probably the best one you can buy right now for low profile, and that would be NVIDIA GTX 1050, right? They have a 1050 Ti version, but GTX 1050 is probably one of the best ones you can get for this type of computer, right? In this computer, power supply is rated at 240 watts. Those other video cards are rated at 300, right? So, but most of the people actually have really good luck with it. And even if one of these power supplies goes out, let's say within a year, they're only around $30 to replace, right? So from what I hear from majority of people, those type of cards that require around 300 watts actually run really well in these type of computers, at least for a long time, right? All right, let's get to installing this one. So in order to install this, we're just gonna flip this back, right? Now we just have to kind of judge where our video card is going to go, right? So in our case, it's going to go into the black slot right here, right? It really doesn't make a huge difference. They're both 16 times PCI Express slots, right? So it really doesn't matter which one you insert this in, right? But we're going to insert in this one because we need, a little bit more space, right? So in this case, I'm just going to remove this back plate here, right? I'm just going to remove that, toss that aside, and then we're going to insert our video card, right? You just have to be careful. Don't force or rush anything. There's really no need. Okay, well, I'm going to move a camera so you guys can see a little bit better. So from here, it's actually really simple. You see how this aligns, right? You see these notches on the connector down here, how they align with this, for example, this white slot. We're going to be using the one back here because we need more space. But you see how the notches align, right? You can clearly see that we have to make sure that this is aligned properly, right, to this. So as long as this notch is aligned to there, then we're good to go. But again, we're going to do it on the back one, right, because we don't have enough space here. So we're just going to do it on the back one, make sure everything is aligned like so. You can see how the notch is aligned. Make sure it's aligned. Align it. Align your card into the slot. Let it drop in, right? You just kind of make sure it's dropped in. And then once you know it's aligned perfectly, just give it a little push down. And then it will go all the way down and be fully seated. Now you're ready to go, right? Now let me show you something from another angle. Now here's something people don't talk about often. Whenever you insert these in the back here where the black plate is, there's a little notch right there that you have to make sure that this back plate actually inserts into first, right? A lot of times these back plates are a little bit bent. Now let me show you what I mean. So when I take this video card out, there's a little notch in here, right? And this part of it here is supposed to go in here, right? Sometimes people try to force it, and it goes against the motherboard, and you can damage your motherboard a little bit there. But sometimes you just have to bend a little bit here to make sure it fits in here nicely, right? You see how it actually goes into that little gap, right? And otherwise we won't be able to push it all the way down like so, right? And then once you're done with inserting your video card, all you gotta do is push this back like so, and then you're done. You can close your computer down, your computer lid, and then you're done. Again, guys, there will be a link, an affiliate link in the description box below from Amazon for a GTX 1050. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this video, and not only that, your computer, your awesome small form factor computer, and you can do some awesome gaming with it, right? It's a really good gaming machine as long as you put a decent video card in it, right? All right, guys, thank you so much. I wish you best of luck. Bye-bye.
Welcome my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video we're testing i9-9900K CPU by Intel. The way we're doing it is basically so that everybody else can do it, meaning that it's easy to overclock this CPU, but we also want to know how far we can take it with a real-world workload. For example, we're going to be using Adobe Premiere encoding to push it to the limit of its capability, which in my case I found that for my specific setup using Corsair water cooling. And of course there's also a type of a gamble or a lottery on the CPU that you get. So basically some of the CPUs that you would get would do better in overclocking than the others, regardless of the fact that it's the same model and you know, same manufacturer, if you will. So that being said, you can see that I'm already using roughly 11% of the CPU power, and that's because I'm recording the video itself, which is perfectly fine. We're going to push it to the max, and you can see to the right hand side that I am overclocked to the 4.8 gigahertz, which is what I found to be stable and safe when it comes to temperatures and stability. I have it automatically adjusting for the core voltage, meaning that you need more voltage in order to run higher frequencies for your CPU, but at the same time when you run higher voltage you have a chance of increasing the heat, because obviously you run more electricity through something, it's going to create more heat. It's just laws of thermodynamics, right? But I have it set to automatic so that way it compensates for any stability issues. So if the CPU needs more power, it's going to automatically have more power based off BIOS automatic settings. So of course you can set this to 5 gigahertz right at the box, which is what happened whenever I just clicked on a button in BIOS to activate it. So it was running at 5 gigahertz, but I did not like the temperatures that were happening there. So this is my setting for 4.8 gigahertz that anybody can set up their CPU to do. So let's say you bought one, chances are you will have the same result. I am using a main board of Z390 Aorus Pro, which is made by Gigabyte, and I'm also using Corsair, I think it's called H60i water cooler. So that's what I'm using for this type of setup. Okay, so we're already using 11%, and let's go ahead and I'm going to run this Adobe Premiere. I'm going to start the encoding and I'm going to push the CPU to 100%, as you can see here. Now let's look at the temperatures here on the left hand side. The idle was around a little bit under 40, but once we were started recording it went a little bit over 40 Celsius. So this is the first column. Here is the current, here is the minimum that we started off with. You can see the little fluctuations here between different cores, and then these are the maximums for the third, and then of course for the fourth is just the average temperatures that we're seeing. So we are doing 100% CPU usage. I'm going to let it run for a little bit here so you guys can see what is going on at 4.8 gigahertz set, and you can see that the core voltage is automatically adjusting to to the needed power that it needs to run at those speeds. While this is happening, I wanted to show you that I do have also 16 gigabytes of RAM installed, and the graphics card that I'm using is GeForce RTX 2060. So keep in mind also that your video card that's inside of the case itself is adding more heat to the whole desktop itself, to the whole PC as well. So that's going to have an effect on that. So if you have a way to cool your graphics card a little bit more, that would also help a little bit. But when it comes down to it, this is just a normal type of desktop that you would have when it comes to the setup and cooling. And the reason I say that, although it is water cooling and not air cooling, is because water cooling nowadays is a common practice as well, considering that the water cooler that I bought, I think it was around 50 bucks. So 50 US dollars, which is super cheap. Of course, if you're interested, there are links in the description for any of these things that I bought. But so far we're looking good at 4.8 gigahertz. Our temperatures highest we've seen is 80 Celsius, and that was just a spike of it. I suspect we may see that a couple more times here as the benchmark is happening. But you can see we're talking mostly on average, we're talking 70s, 75, mid 70s, but it is going up, which is normal to expect. I expect it to go over 80 a little bit over time, because the more heat is generated, the more it retains heat, and the cooler itself has to kind of work a little bit harder in order to dissipate that heat. Here we go, and it's dipping into low 80s here. You can see the maximums here, but it does a pretty good job at bringing it back down. You can see the voltage spiked again to over 1.3. It's back down to 1.308, but it does go below a little bit, so it's fluctuating between 1.284 and 1.308, which again is perfectly fine. This is adjust for the stability, so you don't have to worry about that. When I turned it on initially, it set the multiplier to 50, so I was running at 5 gigahertz for a while, and honestly I didn't even notice. I didn't really pay attention because I don't usually overclock my CPU, so I just kind of left it at that and just kind of set it and forget it type of thing. So I'm just gonna wrap this up, and I was able to push the CPU to the maximum of 88 Celsius, so that was a quick benchmark of pushing the CPU. And these are not bad temperatures. I mean, I did a more of a extended benchmark, and the temperatures didn't go past high 80s in some cases, and that's what I usually get when it comes to this CPU. So getting 4.8 gigahertz stable and safe overclock, I'm pretty happy with that. Doesn't mean that I can't push it even further, adjusting some other settings, manually adjusting the voltage, really getting into it and getting the best I can out of it. However, I am more than happy with the results here, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But it does go to show that you can overclock this type of CPU on your own really easy and keep it safe, thanks to the automatic voltage adjustment by the BIOS, because nowadays motherboards are created so that anybody can take the most advantage of their CPU that they buy with it. So it's one of the selling points to make it easy to overclock your computer. Just make sure that you get a tool that kind of measures the CPU temperature, so that way that you're doing well when it comes to temperatures. Keep it safe, because whenever I turned it on initially, again, it ran hotter, and it went into 90s temperatures when it was at 5 gigahertz. But I didn't want that, so I was more than willing to sacrifice 200 megahertz. So, and just kind of keep it at 4.8, which is great for me. Just a side note, you can see that the total wattage pushed, or maximum wattage pushed, was 150. So make sure you have powerful enough power supply unit to run this, along with the GPU and everything else that you have on your system. I hope you guys found this video, I want to say, encouraging and educational as well, because you pay big money for these type of high-end CPUs, and of course you want to get the most out of it. So fear not. If you're worried about knowing how to overclock it, well, it's really easy. Just make sure you monitor the the temperatures themselves, so that way you don't destroy your $500 CPU. Alright, let me know if you have any questions about anything else. You can also check out my gear in the description. There's a link to it, to all the things that I own and use for all my stuff, whether it's video editing or anything else. Alright, thank you for watching. Please share this video with your friends. Click the like button if you'd like. And have a good day. Alright guys, bye. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. In today's video I am reviewing Corsair H60i water cooling block, And this was part of my previous video where I've built and assembled a brand new computer with i9 9900K. These type of CPUs tend to run really hot. That's one of the main reasons I am making this video. So make sure you watch the whole thing if you're considering buying an i9 9900K with water cooling. If you're interested in watching the full assembly video of my new computer, there will be a link at the end of this video, so feel free to check that out. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on the part where I've installed the water cooler, and then we're going to concentrate on some testing. Next, we're going to install our adapter plate on the back of the motherboard for our water cooling block, which has a self-adhesive sticky, which is really cool, makes it a lot easier. Then we're going to use our spacers for the water block that we're going to attach. There are 4 of them. You can do this by hand. You don't need to use any tools, which is really cool. So we're going to attach that, and then afterwards we're going to mount our radiator as part of the water cooling. Which in my case, this case allowed me to remove the plate that holds the water cooler or any other fans that you want to attach. So that's really cool. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to attach the radiator, as you can see there, and I'm going to bring it back and show you how it looks like here in a second. And that's how it is. Then I'm going to reattach it, and I'm going to run the cables to the back or the other side of the motherboard, because that's where the cables are being routed after I attach this. Now we can get to the point where we attach our block. It has a plastic cover. It has thermal paste attached already on there, or applied, so we don't have to worry about that. We're going to use the nuts that came with it, and then we're going to attach our water block, and which we will use a cross pattern screw on for these screws, or I should say nuts. So make sure you take your time. Don't tighten too much. Just go by hand and go cross sections so it's evenly distributed when it comes to thermal paste and everything else. Once you do that, you should be good to go. Alright, so here is my benchmark setup. I am monitoring with Task Manager to ensure that I am utilizing 100% of the CPU. I have it set at 4.9 gigahertz, which I found to be a decent overclock speed for this CPU without going too crazy, or I should say dipping into 90s Celsius. You can see here from my previous tests. I have the voltage set to default. If you look up here at the CPU Z, I have it set at default, which is automatic, so it can adjust automatically the voltage of the CPU itself. So anytime it goes higher, the temperatures go higher on the left hand side, which is monitored by hardware info 64. This is why the temperatures are spiking into low 90s, and the reason I left it like that is because stability issues. It was way better when I was manually trying to overclock this CPU, and yes, the temperatures were actually in low 70s, but for some reason my motherboard would not let me set it to lower voltage, I should say. For example, 1.35 if you look over here. Now it's set to automatic to compensate for the stability, so that way my computer doesn't crash, but every time it goes up like that, the temperatures go up as well. If I was to leave the multiplier at 50 times 100 megahertz, it would reach 5 gigahertz, and that's what the BIOS let me do. But I actually decided to lower it down because I didn't like the fact that it was dipping into 90 Celsius for longer periods of time. You can see here it does dip into low 90s occasionally. One time it dipped to 95 Celsius over here, but the system itself is pretty good at controlling that, and I am more than okay with it being in high 80s for most of the time. Now here is the CPU running at 4.8 gigahertz, set to automatic core voltage adjustment. You can see that the values are quite lower, which is reflected on the temperatures here. Of course, this is all dynamic and it can change. I am fine with these type of settings as well, because it keeps the computer stable, and the temperatures are quite a bit cooler than the previous extra 100 megahertz that we had on our settings. This can probably be changed, and what I mean by that is possibly you can change the temperatures by changing the thermal paste, doing this and that, but you know, I'm okay with this the way the things are because I'm not huge on overclocking myself, but I did want to make a video that showcases the performance of this water cooler. I was honestly hoping for lower temperatures. However, I did notice that a lot of people complaining about this specific CPU running hot, which is the Intel Core i9-9900. So there you have it, guys. This is my review of Corsair H60i water cooler. And again, if you want to fiddle with it, and you know, you can get different results by changing the thermal paste, changing the voltages, and setting the different core speeds, and that's up to you. This is just a real world example of what you can expect when you get one of these coolers. If you like it, there is a link in the description box below. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. So if you really want to know what the ray tracing is about, look at the character here and its shadow here. You can see that with RTX off or real tracing off, that the character shadow is super sharp and the shadow itself is not affected by any other light sources. So the main light source here is the background here. And you can see that the light source from the front is not affecting the shadow whatsoever. And if I go back in here, excuse me, and change the ray tracing and I turn it on, you can immediately see kind of what happens. I'm going to set it to ultra here. I'm going to go back, and now you can see that the shadow itself is much softer, and that's because it's affected by other light points in this area. The way ray tracing works, it takes any light point and then it makes it bounce off of other objects, or if you want to call them let's say physical objects in the world, right? So physical and anything that's moving, it's going to bounce off of that, just like in real life. So if you look at the shadow here, you can see clearly just that it's affected by other light sources because of the bouncing and because of the reflection of the light off the other objects. Because think about it this, like in your house, your windows are open, right? And the light comes in and then it bounces off the walls, and that has impact. The light bounces off the walls and has impact of all the other shadows in your home. So if you're in the middle of the day, it's a sunny out and you have, you know, the shades are open, you know, just go into your house and walk around and see if you can see clear cut shadow. I mean sharp, that's what I mean. It's not going to be sharp, it's going to be blurred, because in real life, just like with real-time tracing, light tracing, it, you know, it's affected by multiple angles and bounces off the light itself. So that's what ray tracing here is, and you can see it affected on other things that are in the game itself. You can see that kid over there, it's moving, and you can see how some of the areas become darker or lighter. So let me, in this area here, pay attention to the shadow on the right. You can see how it's diffused for these other characters over here on the right as well. I apologize for the lower rate frame because I'm trying to record as high as possible and at 60 FPS, but we'll see how it comes out. It's really taxing on the CPU, so there is that too, so I can't really record it at high frames. Anyways, let's look at the shadows here, and you can see how they're diffused over here as well from the light sources from the stage. Let me give you a little bit more static here. There's a really good example here. Instead of those two people dancing there on the right side, instead of being a sharp cutoff, it's diffused by other light sources. And I'll show you that here. Ray tracing off. Go back, and you can see how the shadow is just a regular plain shadow where it's just sharp and cut out, you know. Of course, you you can see that it looks okay. I mean, if you're used to that type of thing, but it's not realistic per se. I'm going to go back to the ray tracing. I'm going to set it to ultra. Matter of fact, if I just leave it at high, it looks kind of the same to me. But you can see now that the shadow is diffused properly, and the only light that's affecting it is the one from the stage and wherever it bounces off from. So you can see that some light is actually bouncing off of this person here with a green mask. It's bouncing off, and it's causing the change in the shadow for these people that are dancing left to her. You know, it's very cool and it's very amazing, and it's definitely a step in the right direction when it comes to realistic shadows, lights, and reflections of the world. Here's a good example right here too, with this kid just, you know, playing around with this firework here. There's a really good explanation how the light and the shadows change accordingly. And let me go back to turn it off. You can see the difference here. In nature environments, it really makes a huge difference too. It makes them look way more realistic. You can see now that it's a lot brighter in this area, and him moving that around, it does affect the other lights, because for him it's just a point of light in his hand. That's what happens in the game design, and he's just moving it around. But the shadows are not true to life. You know what I mean? They're not the light from the light that's coming from here. It's the point of light that is located probably right here. There are multiple points of light, but there's a one that's right here, and it's causing those shadows like that. All right, guys. I hope that clears it up, and you know, hopefully, you know, graphic developers or graphic GPU makers will start to make this and implement it more, because it's really cool, and it is a step in the right direction when it comes to realism in regular games, and especially VR games. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye. This is MSI GL62M7RD. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add another hard drive. My name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. Thank you for stopping by.
For this, you will just need a Phillips head screwdriver, just like this one. As you can see, factory seal label is still there, so I haven't opened it up yet. So I'm not 100% sure what to expect once I open it, but that's okay, we'll figure it out. And since I'm an IT professional, this shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. So the first thing I'm going to do is break the factory seal, which has a screw underneath. And I'm going to unscrew it. And for the rest of them, I'm going to do the same. There's one more. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 screws, including this one, which makes it 16 total. So I'm going to fast forward to that to help speed this up. Okay, so with all the screws unscrewed, what I'm going to do is just gently lift that up, because I'm assuming that's how it's going to go. I left some screws inside. They are unscrewed and loose, so I'm just going to leave them in there, and I'm going to make sure that I don't flip the whole thing over and lose any screws. So I'm just going to lift it. I'm going to put it aside. So I'm going to lift it and put it aside. So take your time while you're doing this. Looks like it's slowly separating. Don't force nothing. Go from edge to edge, just to kind of lift gently. Because I'm not sure if there's anything else attached underneath. I did come across an issue here. The audio jacks, it's kind of difficult to take it off the audio jacks. So I'm going to lift it like this. I'm going to try to slide it that way to get it off the audio jacks. Again, don't force nothing. Okay, there we have it. So the tip here is just gently angle it like this, it will eventually slide off. Alright, let me actually turn it this way so you guys can see a little bit better. From the looks of it, looks like it has really good cooling here for the CPU and the GPU, which is great. The first thing we can do here is actually add more RAM if we really wanted to, so it's really simple right there. This is my M.2 slot for the hard drive that is installed right there, and it's already installed there, and this is a 256 gigabyte, I believe, storage, and that means we can't use that since, although I do have an option to add a bigger one, but in our case we're going to utilize this serial connection to install one of these hard drives. So we're just going to use that and add, this is 500 gigabyte, or you can do a 1 terabyte if you will, and if you're interested there's a link in the description below. But first we're going to remove this battery, which looks like to be just one screw. So the battery is just one screw here. You got to remove it just to be safe. I think it would be fine without removing it, but I'm going to remove it anyway because that's the proper way of doing it. Okay, and I'm just going to slide it out like that, and there's our battery removed. It's kind of interesting because you can actually see the physical batteries inside the plastic. You don't normally see that. Anyways, here there are no screws to use per se, so I'm just going to take this out and I'm just going to put it in there like that. Okay, this shouldn't take long. So by the looks of it, looks like it would go this way, so that's actually pretty cool. You can actually see the connectors going in like that, and you do have to lift it up a little bit like that so it goes in as so, because you can see the connectors. There's the power and there's the serial connection right there. So we're just gonna keep it high up like that a little bit, and a little push, and that's that. Doesn't look like there's anything else to attach to this, which is a bit disappointing to be honest, but I guess after that we just put our lid back on and put it in reverse, of course after we put the battery back in, and that should do it. And then you put your screws back in. That's all there is to it, guys. I hope you find this video helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll gladly answer them for you. Please like and share this video. Thank you so much. Again, links in the description for the laptop and for the hard drive. Best of luck. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video I will show you how to install an M.2 drive. This is really easy to do and anybody should be able to do it. That being said, please take 1 second to like this video. I really appreciate it. That way I'm not going to play any ads on this very short video. Before you do anything, please make sure you get the correct drive for your PC. If you need help with that, please let me know. I'll gladly help you with that. Or you can just follow the links in the description for the recommendations that I have when it comes to purchasing the proper M.2. Needless to say, be very careful when dealing with these sensitive components. Make sure you align them properly and generally take your time before you proceed to do anything. Alright, let's get into it.
Now we're going to install our VNAND SSD M.2 solid state drive. This motherboard comes with two options to install this. The first one is too long, the second one is just the right length, so we're going to use it in that one. Of course you can use it in the other one as well. What you see on top, the black part, is actually a heatsink, which I was very surprised to find in this motherboard. Once we remove the heatsink, we're going to insert our M.2 solid state drive on an angle like that first, and then we're going to lower it down carefully, making sure that all the contacts are present. Then we're going to use our heatsink. We're going to remove the little sticky part that covers it. It's going to stick on there. We're going to then use the screw that came with the motherboard to reattach the M.2 solid state drive, which is crazy fast, by the way.
Thank you so much for watching, and again, if you want a good recommendation on an SSD, there is a link in the description box below, and if you need any help, please let me know. I'm always available, and I will answer your questions as soon as possible in comments below. Alright guys, you have a wonderful day, and take care. Welcome friends, thank you so much for joining me. My name is cobuman. Today I'm going to set a world record in PC building. So the rules are simple. You got to have all the essentials with the exception of CD-ROM. Nowadays you don't really need a CD-ROM any longer to install the operating system. So all you got to do is have one hard drive. You have to have at least 2 RAM sticks. Obviously motherboard, CPU, heatsink, but you also have to have one video card. And of course, in addition, you got to install the power supply, right? But most importantly, you gotta have the front panel connectors connected in order for it to work, right? So it has to be a fully working PC in order to count as a world record. So this is what I'm going to do. After everything is done, I'm going to plug it in so you guys can see that it works. Let's get to it.
friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like this video, please subscribe below. Also, do me a favor, go to facebook.com/cobuman and like my page. That would really make a huge difference for me. Thank you so much and have a good one. Look forward to more videos. Bye-bye. This is MSI GL62M7RD. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add another hard drive. My name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. Thank you for stopping by.
For this, you will just need a Phillips head screwdriver, just like this one. As you can see, factory seal label is still there, so I haven't opened it up yet. So I'm not 100% sure what to expect once I open it, but that's okay, we'll figure it out. And since I'm an IT professional, this shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. So the first thing I'm going to do is break the factory seal, which has a screw underneath. And I'm going to unscrew it. And for the rest of them, I'm going to do the same. There's one more. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 screws, including this one, which makes it 16 total. So I'm going to fast forward to that to help speed this up. Okay, so with all the screws unscrewed, what I'm going to do is just gently lift that up, because I'm assuming that's how it's going to go. I left some screws inside. They are unscrewed and loose, so I'm just going to leave them in there, and I'm going to make sure that I don't flip the whole thing over and lose any screws. So I'm just going to lift it. I'm going to put it aside. So I'm going to lift it and put it aside. So take your time while you're doing this. Looks like it's slowly separating. Don't force nothing. Go from edge to edge, just to kind of lift gently. Because I'm not sure if there's anything else attached underneath. I did come across an issue here. The audio jacks, it's kind of difficult to take it off the audio jacks. So I'm going to lift it like this. I'm going to try to slide it that way to get it off the audio jacks. Again, don't force nothing. Okay, there we have it. So the tip here is just gently angle it like this, it will eventually slide off. Alright, let me actually turn it this way so you guys can see a little bit better. From the looks of it, looks like it has really good cooling here for the CPU and the GPU, which is great. The first thing we can do here is actually add more RAM if we really wanted to, so it's really simple right there. This is my M.2 slot for the hard drive that is installed right there, and it's already installed there, and this is a 256 gigabyte, I believe, storage, and that means we can't use that since, although I do have an option to add a bigger one, but in our case we're going to utilize this serial connection to install one of these hard drives. So we're just going to use that and add, this is 500 gigabyte, or you can do a 1 terabyte if you will, and if you're interested there's a link in the description below. But first we're going to remove this battery, which looks like to be just one screw. So the battery is just one screw here. You got to remove it just to be safe. I think it would be fine without removing it, but I'm going to remove it anyway because that's the proper way of doing it. Okay, and I'm just going to slide it out like that, and there's our battery removed. It's kind of interesting because you can actually see the physical batteries inside the plastic. You don't normally see that. Anyways, here there are no screws to use per se, so I'm just going to take this out and I'm just going to put it in there like that. Okay, this shouldn't take long. So by the looks of it, looks like it would go this way. So that's actually pretty cool. You can actually see the connectors going in like that, and you do have to lift it up a little bit like that so it goes in as so, because you can see the connectors. There's the power and there's the serial connection right there. So we're just gonna keep it high up like that a little bit, and we'll push, and that's that. Doesn't look like there's anything else to attach to this, which is a bit disappointing to be honest, but I guess after that we just put our lid back on and put it in reverse, of course after we put the battery back in, and that should do it. And then you put your screws back in. That's all there is to it, guys. I hope you find this video helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll gladly answer them for you. Please like and share this video. Thank you so much. Again, links in the description for the laptop and for the hard drive. Best of luck. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman, and this is 840G1 laptop by HP. This laptop is not holding charge, or in other words, it's not charging. So the first thing in this case we would actually look at is the battery. Yes, sometimes the charger itself doesn't work, but we know that the computer works when it's plugged in. It's just that the battery is not holding charge. Another thing we might be able to consider as a problem is the connection where the battery charger is connected, and that would be right here. By the way, if you have 840G2 or G3, it will be similar to this, or if you have an HP laptop that looks similar to this, it will be the same procedure to check, troubleshoot, or replace the battery. So let's have a look what's on the other side. Oh boy, I can already see the problem. This battery looks really bad, looks swollen up, and I'll show you that in a second. The reason I didn't get a chance to show you how to remove the lid is because the lid literally popped off because it was raised like this, because the battery itself is swollen. That is going to be interesting to look at. Unbelievable. Anyways, if you have it inserted like this, just press this to unlock and slide the lid off like that. Very simple. Okay, here's our battery, and it's one of these slim ones. This is typical with the newer type of laptops. Let's go ahead and unlock it. I'm just going to push this little unlock tab like that. Once you see red, it's unlocked, and there's one more here. We're going to push it. Oh wow, this is really stuck. You see that? You see the bulging? Oh man, let me get a screwdriver for this part. See if I can unlock this. There it is. Wow, that popped open. Usually you would pull on this. That's pretty crazy. Oh my, Oh my God, look. It actually cracked. It's cracked. And it's swollen. Well, this is why it's not charging. This is crazy. Look at that. Look at that. Let me show you a brand new one. This is a replacement battery. Look at that. Wow. Let me just move this aside just for a second. Look at that. Wow. That's a pretty gnarly damage right there. The thickness on it is just, it's swole up. By the way, if you need a replacement of this, I placed a link in the description if you want to check it out. This is the replacement for it. Wow. Look at that. Look at the crack on it. Look at that. It cracked. By the way, dispose of these very careful because these are lithium-ion batteries, and if you puncture them or dispose of them improperly, it can burst, and it can also, you know, there's chemicals in there, so dispose of them properly. All right, let's put in the new one. So it's very simple to install the new one. Just make sure you go in like this first. So there's a little notch there for you to go slide underneath, and then just let it sit down and just push it down a little bit. You can see that this part already locked by itself, and then all you gotta do is just lock this one, which makes a huge difference. Everything's okay. And then I'm going to put the lid back on. It's just kind of in reverse order. So I'm gonna push it in, lock it, and that's how it is. By the way, if you, yeah, I just wanted to show you how to remove the lid as well. There it is, and you just pop it off like that. Push it down, lock it, and there you have it, guys. Battery's been replaced and we are good to go. Again, there's a link in the description if you're looking for a replacement battery. They're really cheap. And thank you so much for watching. Share this with your friends. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video we're building a workstation PC which will be used for virtual machines such as VMware firewalls and virtual hosts. For this we need a lot of CPU power, lots of RAM, and lots of fast storage as we have here. We have 1 terabyte of Samsung solid state storage. We have an i7-8700K by Intel, and we also have total of 32 gigabytes of RAM by Ballistic Sports memory. In addition to that, we have EVGA power supply, which is 650 gold power supply G2 version, and also we have liquid cooling, which is EVGA closed loop CPU cooler. For us to install things into, we have a mid-tower S340 model by NZXT. This is a really good, clean looking desktop case that we used for this installation. However, there were some minor issues when it comes to installing the power supply, simply because it's awkwardly positioned on the bottom there and separate from the system itself. You will see in the video. Of course, for everything that we use here, there will be links in the description box below for all components.
Okay, so first thing first. We can install the motherboard first, or we can install. Where's the hole for the power supply? Oh, it's over here. Oh, that's nice actually. So let's do the motherboard first. Tako da nemamo cables hanging.
That's fine.
Like on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wait, it's a lot easier.
Well, that's a nice looking motherboard.
Yeah?
It has heat sinks for, I guess, for the chipset right here. That's nice. And this one, it's gonna go like this actually. So we just gotta make sure that we align these holes to the little spacers there. So we need to put the backplate in first. On that backplate.
Maybe no. Where does that go? Oh, on the back there.
Yeah. It's for the connectors.
Gotcha.
Oh look, it has a VGA. I'm surprised actually, but it does have VGA in it.
Where does that go? On top of VGA?
Yeah,
Or
basically.
over?
So yeah, we just have to make sure that the backplate is inserted back there so that we have this type of action going on.
Ah, nice.
Hold that for a sec.
We'll look for you. Oh, just clips. Got it. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it just clips in. Almost. Wow.
still has
Okay, there it is finally.
it still has a PS2 mouse. Is that what that is, Butsu?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, I see. That's why I was surprised they had the VGA in there. I guess they have a PS2 as well.
This is not really top notch, is it? That's like a mid range. Is what I'm hoping.
What this?
The motherboard.
I don't know. I actually haven't really looked this up. How much was it? Like the most expensive one
No.
or the cheapest one?
No, it was mid priced.
The mid price. So it's
Yeah.
mid range then.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. Yeah.
So back here, we just have to make sure that it's aligned.
With the back plate.
And then just slowly let it sit. Make sure you push it back a little bit because it does actually need a little bit of wiggle room back there. So now it's all flushed in the back. Actually, what I found a lot of times, you have to actually kind of push on it a little bit because the back plate itself is kind of bent. But it does flex a little bit, so it's okay to push a little bit on it just to align those little holes right there, see? And now we can just put our screws in. Okay, that's just to hold it in. And never tighten them all the way until you put all your screws in. So that way you can tighten them a little bit. And you don't need to force anything either. So I went over them real quick just to make sure they're all tight, but you don't have to go crazy on that. Okay. Sada, we're gonna do this last. Zato što I know it's bulky. Znaš, it's like it's gonna be. I feel like we should do that last.
Yeah.
Zato što it's gonna go over.
Yep, and directno na njega.
Yeah, cables.
I just want to mention real quick that the power supply was really hard to and awkward to film, so I kind of had to skip that part of it. But as you can see on the right hand side, we installed it already.
Some of these, but let's do the motherboard first. Oh, a 24 pin. We use this hole for this other stuff.
Yep.
Okay, well that makes it easier, huh?
That answers that question for us.
Yep. We're just gonna use it. Yeah, we're gonna deal with that last anyway. So let's just put that out. I probably shouldn't have use one of these. Like, you know what I mean? Just bunch them together.
Probably won't need to be.
Well, we can make those adjustments later.
No.
You just unbunch them now so you can route them.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking this way, huh? Oh, hold on. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this actually. Okay.
I onda vamo.
Okay, let me plug this one in. Nema nego krenuti. I'm gonna drop it.
Maybe if I was
I'll just have to
here.
feel for it, I guess.
Yeah, maybe if I was here, but then. Imamo two of these.
We can do those on the same power. Jel tako, ja možem. So we'll just use one cable for that, for power. Yeah.
Nemamo puno. Kako se zove?
We can do that easier. Imamo access over right here. I don't know, but
What does modular mean too, by the way?
that you can disconnect them.
Aha.
You know, the možeš
Individual.
modular. Yeah, modular. Yeah, like you can you basically use the ones you want.
Ah, okay.
That's what it means.
They're not all on the same route.
Right.
I see,
You can disconnect them, remove them, add them. You know, add more later. Or that's what modular means.
This might be working better because it's on the side. Yeah. It's not right in the middle.
Safer.
Ovako će staviti. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier.
Sometimes stuff on the side somewhere.
What this is like metal.
Depends which one it is. Like,
Oh, for this?
yeah, if it's like
I see.
Intel, which socket, and
Got
all
it.
that shit.
Got it.
These standoffs. You know,
Maya.
there's standoffs and that thing goes on top.
To lift it. Riser is a good word, yeah.
Right.
Literally to lift it off of there.
But where are the screws? Like, it doesn't talk about the screws that
No.
used to.
Oh,
Is that came with it?
Yes.
That's what I was looking for. Okay.
yeah, that's it.
And these came with the thing, right? Ovi.
I'm pretty sure they did, yeah.
Okay.
Nisu išli sam drugo nek to.
I may need your help actually
Okay.
to put these. Zato što
Da, ti digneš?
well, I could possibly do it myself. Yeah. I'm okay. Hajde, možeš ti. No, I think I'm okay. Yeah. There's something like a shan shut off and then you're good.
Hefti.
da žiga, znaš.
Take it back.
Samo jedan i sav.
Unlocked?
Yeah, that means you can overclock it.
Ah.
K means it's unlocked. And they usually charge more money for that.
I'll get right on that.
Yeah, I know, right? I've never overclocked. Mine is also K too, but it's like, why? You got a shitload of cores. It's fast enough. Man, if you have to overclock something,
You got issues. You got other problems, yeah.
yeah, man. Like seriously, then why don't you just buy the better CPU? Spend extra $50, $100, and get a better CPU, and you're good. I have to be hardcore. Technically, you could overclock this thing for this cooling and all that shit, but it's up to you. For that, you do need extra, but you have it.
Extra watt?
Wattage. Yeah, but you have it, so you can overclock it if you want. And
It's called Coffee Lake, by the way. 87Ks, Coffee Lake, 6 core, 3.7, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, their Intel website should have a socket on there. Is that where you're looking?
I was looking at a new one, but it's socket LGA
Well, yeah, but which number?
1151 is what it says.
Oh, 1151?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Those numbers don't mean anything to me, by the way. I'm out of
Yeah,
that
well, it's
game.
newer.
I've been out
Mine
of
is
that
the same socket. Kind of funny.
game. I've been out of that game for a long time.
Okay.
So they'll tell you which risers to use, I'm guessing. The
They
rubber.
slide. Yeah.
Probably to be adjustable. Oh, I see.
We don't need the short ones. The short
I see.
LGA 1150.
You're talking this.
1150, 51.
You're talking these are separate than those four.
That's what I need, exactly.
Screw that. We don't have to install the OS, I can do that at home. Although it'd probably be a good idea to power it.
Oh, we will.
I'm kind of glad I got the red thing there. There was a blue one. Red goes better.
Okay.
All the easy stuff I can do.
We got water cooling installed. The next thing is the video card. See, we have to take that top plate off. That's annoying.
Which plate?
This here.
Why?
Now we just slide in.
Aha, I see.
I can't push it down until I
I
slide
see.
it in.
Although
That's what I was doing.
It is screws, no screws, so it's not that big a deal.
I'm starting to hate this case, dude.
This
This is unnecessary. Like, it looks nice, but like, is it really necessary to do all this?
to get to what you need to do.
Yeah. Like, it should have been just one screw or like a flip thing. Like a.
Or some push.
Yeah. Like a tab or something.
It is interesting that the power supply is on the bottom. So what was it?
Tiga? What?
Installing off of the motherboard?
Yeah. To the PCI. To the PCI Express thing. What's the first thing you're gonna do? Как инсталлируешь OS? Test or something?
Yeah, I'll probably get the drivers with the cooling and see. There's like a supposedly like software for it.
Oh,
Let's see.
okay.
I don't know. Look for VMware to install and probably go pay for Windows 10. You know.
It should still be free though.
You can use it. It's got that little splash background thing. It's not free. They give you a little splash background. Oh, those are small. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the one that I installed. It was cheap though. It was on like Amazon Day last year or the year before, and it was like $100 for
Windows 10?
no, for 10 for a terabyte of SSD.
Oh, okay, okay.
Windows 10, I had free upgrade because I had 7 on my VM. I have a VM on my Mac.
I think these screws will work. So you're gonna install VMware on it, huh?
Yep. I will find a way to. I gotta get a some kind of a virtual Hyper-V. Supposedly it's free, so I'll see if I can play with that. I've never used it before. I used VMware, but VMware is like a $200 now. So I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money. I used VMware workstation before.
Hyper-V.
Microsoft answer to a VMware's
I don't think these will work.
workstation. You don't think they're all the same? So. It's cool.
Oh, this is easy one. They show what the audio.
I don't know how you see that stuff piše dole svaka tepčast. Even with the glasses I can't read that. Možda sam straight on top of it like you are.
Probably.
But
see, we could route this even further down, but you know what? I'll let you deal with that shit later.
Kako misliš? Route where? Where else can it go?
Pa iza tamo, mogli smo I provući opet. Znaš?
Ovo. Aha, there's an FD ovo. That's okay, I can deal with that. I'm not worried about that. If that bothers me, then I'll just open it up and do it. You
yeah,
know?
really.
If it doesn't bother me, then it's fine.
But like, if you really just wanted to show off your... the hard drives?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
They're both the same.
serials are different as opposed to EID. It's old school stuff.
Да.
It doesn't matter with these really, because it's all just controlled by the BIOS automatically.
Automatically.
Automagically. Yeah, these cables are rough here.
Yeah. I'll have to figure that out later.
It is what it is.
Maya.
Oh yeah, we got to install RAM too.
Ma to sam. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, that will be interesting.
I think that's okay. I don't see anything too wrong.
It's probably true.
Yeah, but it's so tough to put it in, man. Every little thing. Which is good, but not necessarily, yo. Oh, what vidiš? This is a SATA. SATA data connection.
That's the data.
Yeah, nije više EID shit.
Yep.
Old stuff.
White, and then you got your red, yellow, blue.
Ma da. And then you have to worry about the jumpers.
Which way you turn it on? Yeah.
Then you turn it on, it's like, it's not recognizing it. Why? Well, because...
You didn't tell it where it is.
Yeah, the jumper. You didn't tell it that it's a slave. You didn't tell it it's a master. I wish this could have come out a little better, but what can you do?
Deal with that. That's okay.
And then we've got...
Is the big one plugged in too? It's all plugged in? Data and power? I guess
Yeah.
I'll find out when I install OS.
Yeah, absolutely. You have it. It's all there. It's all connected.
I'll do that now.
What are these? Ballistics? Koliko su, 16 gigabytes?
Yes, sticks.
I'm assuming, I mean, this is dual channel, obviously, so I'm just going to put it like this. They both should be working dual channel. They're just, it's typically labeled like that. Where... But you know this probably. When it comes to dual channel, you have to make sure they're inserted in the same color slots.
Yep. I knew it in theory, I've never done it. There's a reason why it was black and white. Or black and red.
That's that. Now we should be able just to power it on and it ought to work just fine. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions on how to install any of these components that you saw in this video, I have a video for that. These specifically made videos are super in detailed and up close, so whether you need to know how to install a motherboard, power supply, hard drive, or even the front panel connectors, I have videos that are specific to that and will teach you how to do it. So let me know in the comments below and I will link you the video so you can learn from it. Thanks again, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. So here we have a really big gaming monitor. This is ultra wide gaming monitor with 100
Hertz refresh rate by MSI. This model is called Optics MAG341CQ. And the price on this has gone down. It used to run around $500. I paid $380 plus tax on this monitor. So it's an incredibly good deal. This is ultra wide, meaning that you get 3440 by 1440 resolution, which is around 3K resolutions. It's really good for those people with mid-range computers that get around 100 frames per second. Hence we have 100 Hertz refresh rate. So if you have a mid-range computer, this is a really good gaming option. And also if you're doing video editing or anything like that, this will give you extra space. So imagine this is a 34-inch and it's 21 by 9. Think of this as the regular 16 by 9 monitor. With 21 by 9, you get this much more space. This includes the field of view within the games and field of view within everyday tasks. So if you want to have window open here, you can do so. If you want to have another one here, you can do so. And then of course the third one, because there's so much space available. Comes with AMD FreeSync. Guys, this monitor right now actually supports G-Sync as well. NVIDIA recently came out with the drivers that support FreeSync as well. So if you have AMD or NVIDIA card, this is a great option for you because it supports both of them. And this specific brand is on the list of supported G-Sync monitors by NVIDIA. Of course, there are other options that come with this: anti-flicker, lesser blue light, and this and that. But one of the really cool features here is the fact that it's curved. So if you get a curved monitor, you get that even better immersion for your gaming. Alright guys, let's get to the unboxing and then we're going to do some setup, review, and testing. See how fast this thing does in games. See if we can tell the 100 Hertz refresh rate and what the difference is. Alright, this thing is so huge. Oh my god. Okay, I finally managed to get it out. Okay, let's see. This is just a stand that goes, that holds the monitor. It's made out of metal, so that's cool. It has a little rubber stoppers there. Next thing, we have HDMI cable, high-speed HDMI cable. Then we have a DisplayPort cable. Over here we have some screws for the legs, I'm assuming, and some instruction manual. We got a power cable. This is part of the mount. Alright, here's the big moment. The curvature. Oh man. This is really cool. Alright. Well, let's just be gentle with this here. Wow. Wow, guys. Oh my god, I've never had anything like this before. Oh man, look at this. This thing. Alright, I finally got it out. Oh man, look at that. Would you look at that? One thing I hate is when a monitor has way too much reflection, but this is cool. So I went ahead and faced it this way so we can mount it real quick. So these are the screws that came with it. For this you just need a Phillips head screwdriver. I hope we can get a good angle on this. I'm not going to go all the way here until I tighten this one, or until I get this one going. Okay. The screwdriver is not the best match for this, but it'll do. Make sure it's tight on there. I'm glad that this is metal. Alright. Oh my god. Look at this beauty. Look at this, a beauty cutie. Oh man, look at that. Alright, I'm going to connect it and show you guys how it looks like. So this is my current setup.
you can see that there's the new monitor. They're doing the UFO Hertz refresh rate test just to make sure that we got the right product here. And then we got my 4K monitors just set up there. But this is just kind of what I have it set up here. The reason I'm filming from an angle like this, so you can see the curvature here. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can tell the difference between the refresh rates down here. And with this test, you can see that the higher refresh rate has much smoother scroll from left to right. I'm going to show you the gameplay as well, and I'm going to show you viewing angles because I feel like that's incredibly important here, guys. I'm not going to throw too many numbers at you guys because I really wanted to show you the actual use of this type of monitor. So just keep that in mind, and because when it comes down to it, to me, if the monitor functions the way I want, with the things that I want, that's the most important to me. And in this case, it's the response time, refresh rate, viewing angle, and the picture quality. Steady as possible here to show you different angle views so you can see how well it does on an angle. Alright, here's another look of a viewing angle. This is all the way to the right, and I'm going to go all the way to the left as well. Of course, I made some adjustments on the viewing angle for my own liking, but the viewing angle is quite nice considering that it's actually curved on top of that. By the way, the immersion with the curved, I thought it was going to look awkward, but man, it really works. Now, let me zoom in here and so you can see a little bit of a pixel action. This is the native resolution there. You can see the pixel action there right now. This is supposed to be a VA panel if I'm not mistaken. And there's the refresh rate of it. So if you have an NVIDIA type of GPU, which is what I have right now, I will show you here that it's enabled. You can see that enable G-Sync is enabled, and I have it enabled for both window and full screen. Here's what it looks like for me just sitting down in my chair. You can see the curvature compared to the one that's on top. Alright, so what's the deal with this curvature and this 21:9 aspect ratio? I will show you this. There is a huge difference between 16:9 and 21:9 aspect ratios, and when it comes to ability to see around you. This is not to be confused with the field of view that you see, that you adjust in game. This is actual extra space that you see left and right instead of modifying the view of your character. Right now you can see the blue bars here, that would be the extra space that you would see. So not only is this a higher resolution, means the image is a lot sharper, is that you see a lot more left and right. So let's have a look what the difference is. Here, this is actually a pretty good example. I'm going to stop here so you can have a good frame of reference. I'm going to stop right here, and then I'm going to change the resolution to 1980 by 1920 by 1080, which brings it down to 16:9 resolution, 16:9 aspect ratio. Matter of fact, we can just switch it to this here. You see how I can see way less now on the left and right. Now this is the aspect ratio. This has nothing to do with the resolution itself, right? This is what I'm pointing out. Yes, you can see the difference in resolution between the native of this and that. That's not what I'm pointing out. You see that rock over there on the right there? Let me go back. You let me go back to the native resolution. Watch. I'm gonna go back to full screen. Yes. You can see how I see the, you can see now that I can see the whole rock over there, and also big part of that post, metal post over there on the left as well. So that's the difference between 16:9 and 21:9 aspect ratio. Nothing to do with the resolution. Resolution helps in clarity and everything like that, which is great, but that's not what I'm talking about here. So you can see that I can see way more left and right. And that's a big deal, especially when you have a curved monitor like this. This monitor is currently discounted. If you want to check it out, there's a link in the description. You can check that out now. So this is one of the older games called Mass Effect Andromeda. I think this is from 2017. And right away, you can see how this screen here, this just picture here, is designed for a 16:9 ratio. And the black bars on the left and right are just unused space, because most of the time that is not used. The view here is massive. Here, let me show you here, just to get in the right position. Position myself right next to these people on the right, and then I'm going to change the resolution. Here we go, video output, and I'm going to change it to 16:9 ratio. Here, let's just keep it fair. I'm going to keep it at this. I'm going to keep it okay. Go back here. Go back into the game. You can see the whole person is missing over there. Native resolution. Apply. Keep changes. Let's go back. And now that person is back. So it was about this much that was missing over here. And then same thing on the other side. So that's quite a bit of field of view that you're missing out on. And you can see it scales properly because this guy is actually normal size. So it's not stretched out at all. You can see the actual support for this ultra wide, and most of the newer games support this. So here's a newer game. It's called Rage 2, and you can see right away how much more extra we have when it comes to viewing space. So I'm going to show you some gameplay here real quick. It's been a while since I played this game. Oh, that's right. I keep throwing grenades, which is not something I wanted to do. There's a bad guy over there, I think. Let's see. Wing stick. Alright, let's try that. There's probably more in here. Oh. I'm just hitting random buttons here. I'm going to position myself right here. Pay attention to the flare over there. See if we can see it. Once I switch it back to 16:9. So we're going to switch down to 1920 by 1080, which is our 16:9 resolution. Aspect ratio, I should say. See, now the flare is no longer visible over there. You can no longer see the flare. Okay. And now the flare is back, and of course you can see a lot more to the left there. So the flare is back, you can see a lot more to the left there. Now this is not to be confused with the field of view within the game. That's something you adjust on top of this here. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I wanted to apologize to all people that got nauseous from the testing of the refresh rate, and I appreciate any support that you may have for me. Whether you like it, leave a comment or share this video. If you have any questions or you want me to do any additional tests, please let me know. Alright, have a good day. Bye-bye. Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as cobuman. In today's video I will show you how to install one of these Arctic Cooling Freezer Pro AC. Now this is an old one that I've used for many years, as you can see. The new one will be in the description box below it. It has a white fan. But the reason I actually wanted to show you how to install this one is because I used this one, as you can see here. I've used this one for a very long time, overclocking my computer without any issues, and it really made a huge difference. This is why I really wanted to make a video on this, on how to install one of these and what the benefits are. So obviously the main benefit is, less, lower temperatures, and if you want to overclock. Here you can see how, I ran this thing for a long time without any issues, and I will show you how to install it on this test board that I have here, right? So for this you may need a screwdriver. You could probably use your fingers or maybe even your nail, and I'll show you exactly why. To remove this, you just kind of spin these tabs counterclockwise all the way around, right? This will release the little tabs, right? But before you actually pull on this, right, you might want to disconnect your fan. We got to disconnect the fan. Make sure you don't pull on these wires, but to pull on the actual plastic part of it, right? You pull that out, and now we can separate this from the motherboard, right? Okay. Of course, whenever you do buy one of these, right? Again, and there's a link in the description for the brand new version of this. it will have thermal paste attached, right? It will have thermal paste attached. Of course, you can use your own thermal paste and apply it on there, but again, it will come pre-applied so that you don't have to worry about that. Now, another tip is I actually like to take this fan off because we can attach this a little bit later, right? This makes it a lot easier to install. And now all you got to do is just align these holes here, and I'll show you a better angle of this here in a sec. Okay, so all we got to do is align these little tabs, these clips, to these holes here, right? So we got 4 of them, right? So then all we got to do now, when you're doing this, you're going to be doing this in your case. So make sure that that you keep in mind that the fan side will be facing on this side, right? So how you turn this will depend on how much room you have in your case, right? If at all possible, try to turn it because the air is going to go it's going to blast through that way, right? It's going to go past that way, and then if we want to kind of force that air out, kind of force it into direction of your case fan that blows out, right? So you keep that in mind. But if you don't have enough space and you have to turn it a certain way, because you got to put this fan up, and if you have something blocking on this side or over here, you just kind of have to think about that, right? And then all you got to do is just align these little pins, right? Make sure they're aligned into these holes, right? Make sure the clips are separated like this, right? That way they're ready for locking whenever we push down on them, because that's what we're going to do. And then all you got to do is just align the holes. Make sure you align the holes. Take your time. Whatever you do when it comes to electronics, electronic components, computer parts, right? This is going to be awesome, guys. Whenever you install it for your computer, you can overclock. And of course, be always careful. Don't go crazy, because I don't want you to burn your, CPU. Make sure they're all aligned properly, right? You see how it's flush right here, right? You see how it's flushed with the motherboard itself. So this is what I mean by flushed with the motherboard itself. It's supposed to go all the way down, flat onto the motherboard. If it's lifted like this, right? See, it's all the way down, right? You don't want it to come out, right? Then you're ready to push them down. Now that we know that our clips are aligned properly, we're going to cross push down, right? We're going to do a cross at the same time. So don't push on one of these down, or one of these down just by itself. We have to do it like 2 of them at once, right? So let's do that, right? And then once it clips, we know it's all the way in. So press it down, right? So that's 2, that's done. And the same thing on this side. You see how it clips in? Now we're good to go. This is perfectly installed. Now we're just going to install our fan, right? We're going to install our fan. And it has these little, you see how it has a little ridge there, or like a little ridge there that you can see? I'm going to point it. I like to point things with my screwdriver right there. And it has a little fan clip, as you can see right there, right? So they clip on, they kind of grab on to this aluminum heatsink, right? See, now you can kind of see where the fan just kind of clips onto this, little gap there, right? Into the heatsink. And then last thing we got to do is just plug in our fan, which is right there in our case, right? And then we're done. Well, there you have it, guys. Again, there will be a link in the description box below if you're interested in this type of cooler. Just be safe, don't overclock too much, and have fun out there. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as Cobuman. In today's video I am reviewing Corsair H60i water cooling block, and this was part of my previous video where I've built and assembled a brand new computer with i9 9900K. These type of CPUs tend to run really hot. That's one of the main reasons I am making this video, so make sure you watch the whole thing if you're considering buying an i9 9900K with water cooling. If you're interested in watching the full assembly video of my new computer, there will be a link at the end of this video, so feel free to check that out. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on the part where I've installed the water cooler, and then we're going to concentrate on some testing. Next, we're going to install our adapter plate on the back of the motherboard for our water cooling block, which has a self adhesive sticky, which is really cool, makes it a lot easier. Then we're going to use our spacers for the water block that we're going to attach. There are 4 of them. You can do this by hand. You don't need to use any tools, which is really cool. So we're going to attach that, and then afterwards we're going to mount our radiator as part of the water cooling. Which in my case, this case allowed me to remove the plate that holds the water cooler or any other fans that you want to attach. So that's really cool. I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to attach the radiator, as you can see there, and I'm going to bring it back and show you how that looks like here in a second. And that's how it is. Then I'm going to reattach it, and I'm going to run the cables to the back or the other side of the motherboard, because that's where the cables are being routed after I attach this. Now we can get to the point where we attach our block. It has a plastic cover. It has thermal paste attached already on there, or applied, so we don't have to worry about that. We're going to use the nuts that came with it, and then we're going to attach our water block, and which we will use a cross pattern screw on for these screws, or I should say nuts. So make sure you take your time. Don't tighten too much. Just go by hand and go cross sections so it's evenly distributed when it comes to thermal paste and everything else. Once you do that, you should be good to go. Alright, so here is my benchmark setup. I am monitoring with Task Manager to ensure that I am utilizing 100% of the CPU. I have it set at 4.9 gigahertz, which I found to be a decent overclock speed for this CPU without going too crazy, or I should say dipping into 90s Celsius. You can see here from my previous tests. I have the voltage set to default. If you look up here at the CPU Z, I have it set at default, which is automatic, so it can adjust automatically the voltage of the CPU itself. So anytime it goes higher, the temperatures go higher on the left hand side, which is monitored by hardware info 64. This is why the temperatures are spiking into low 90s, and the reason I left it like that is because stability issues. It was way better when I was manually trying to overclock this CPU, and yes, the temperatures were actually in low 70s, but for some reason my motherboard would not let me set it to lower voltage, I should say. For example, 1.35. If you look over here, now it's set to automatic to compensate for the stability, so that way my computer doesn't crash. But every time it goes up like that, the temperatures go up as well. If I was to leave the multiplier at 50 times 100 megahertz, it would reach 5 gigahertz, and that's what the BIOS let me do. But I actually decided to lower it down because I didn't like the fact that it was dipping into 90 Celsius for longer periods of time. You can see here it does dip into low 90s occasionally. One time it dipped to 95 Celsius over here, but the system itself is pretty good at controlling that, and I am more than okay with it being in high 80s for most of the time. Now here is the CPU running at 4.8 gigahertz, set to automatic core voltage adjustment. You can see that the values are quite lower, which is reflected on the temperatures here. Of course, this is all dynamic and it can change. I am fine with these type of settings as well, because it keeps the computer stable, and the temperatures are quite a bit cooler than the previous extra 100 megahertz that we had on our settings. This can probably be changed, and what I mean by that is possibly you can change the temperatures by changing the thermal paste, doing this and that. But I'm okay with this the way the things are, because I'm not huge on overclocking myself, but I did want to make a video that showcases the performance of this water cooler. I was honestly hoping for lower temperatures. However, I did notice that a lot of people complaining about this specific CPU running hot, which is the Intel Core i9-9900. So there you have it, guys. This is my review of Corsair H60i water cooler. And again, if you want to fiddle with it, and you can get different results by changing the thermal paste, changing the voltages, and setting the different core speeds, and that's up to you. This is just a real world example of what you can expect when you get one of these coolers. If you like it, there is a link in the description box below. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Hello friends, thank you so much for joining me. If you watched my previous video called Guess That Processor, the answer is Intel Q9300. That thing overclocked insanely using this very same heatsink. This is Arctic Cooler heatsink. It was amazing. I had a blast with it. But right now we take a closer look at the front panel connections to your motherboard. So starting from left to right, you can see that this is a front panel for audio connection. It might be slightly different for your motherboard, but the gist of it will be the same. There should still be a label. This is the auxiliary fan, so if you have an extra fan you want to plug in, you can certainly do so right here. So if you have an extra system fan in your case or somewhere, you can certainly just plug it in. And like I said, it might be slightly different for your motherboard, but you know, the gist of it is the same. So here's a front panel USB 1. You can see it's clearly labeled. Front panel USB 2, USB 3. And sometimes there'll be, you know, it depends on the jacks. Sometimes it'll be like multiple ones connected more than, it's connected to the same jack. So, but the gist of it will be the same. You have front panel USB 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one. And here are the front panel connectors, right? Luckily on this motherboard itself, and I'll move it over so you guys can see better, it's clearly labeled which front panel connectors go where. It may not be the case in your motherboard, but your manual will have the exact instructions where you can plug it in. So as long as as long as your, I guess, front panel has the labels on it, and it should be, it would be shocking if it didn't. But here we are with the power connectors. See, this is how it should look like. It should be clearly labeled, and I'll show you which side goes where, right? So if you look at the motherboard itself, you see how, for example, hard drive LED, which is the first thing we'll connect here, is forwarded. So it's in this case it's bluish or aqua color right there, and you can see where the label says it's towards you. So this is the one we're gonna plug it in here. Okay, so that's the hard drive LED. Very simple. So you got to make sure you kind of follow the chart there. And like I said, if it doesn't have the chart there, if it's not labeled clearly on your motherboard, look at your manual, and that way you will know exactly which one goes where. And then here's a power LED, and see how it's labeled there, power LED. You want to plug it in. It's going to go in the back one now. You see that? And it does have plus and a minus, but when it comes to LEDs, I'm fairly certain it doesn't matter because it's just a light. It's an LED light. It just flashes back and forth. You know, make sure it's properly connected, like so. And moving on to the next one. Just bear with me as I kind of sort through the connectors. I actually have them separate, even switches, so that way I can, when I do testing, I just have actual switch. It's not even connected to the. So, anyways, here's a reset switch. You can see it's right there, reset button, and it's going to go right there. So we're just going to put it where the green connector is. It's fairly self-explanatory, but I really wanted to make a video like this because it can be confusing. Like, at least for me, long time ago, when I first started building computers, this was the hardest part, honestly. Just figuring out which cable goes where, which plug goes where. That was like the hardest thing, you know. So here's a power switch, and you can see it's clearly labeled right there. So it's going to go into that pink one, right? So we're just going to go ahead and plug it in there. And you know, you don't have to force nothing. It should go in fairly easy, just like that. And then the last one we have to plug in after this is our speaker. So our post speaker, let me just kind of get to that. And then, so here's our speaker. This makes our beep sounds in case you're brand new to computers. It goes beep, you know, or if something's wrong, it will make the beep. You can see here it's